High above the ground, there is a sign that announces the class-raising ceremony. There are many people standing on a circular platform, some standing on pedestals. This takes place in 2624 in the city of Lijiang at the Second Academy. On another platform, two more people stand facing the crowd. One of them is the head of the Second Academy, Lijiang. This man's name is Luo Heng. He has no hair on his head, however, he has very thick eyebrows, a mustache, and a beard. Luo Heng calmly reports that the First Awakening determines a person's future along with many factors. The head of the academy advises the guys not to change classes immediately as soon as they awaken combat classes. Luo Heng explains that summoners and engineers need a lot of resources, and it is difficult for an ordinary person to afford such expenses. A crowd of young boys listens to Luo Heng with enthusiasm. One girl says she wants to be a pharmacist. Someone, grinning evilly, reports his hope of awakening as a berserker to become a monster-killing machine. The guy with purple hair looks at the others, disdainfully noting that they are all just afraid of death. There is an image of a sword with wings against the background of a shield. It's a virtual reality game called Eternity that came out many years ago. People, wearing glasses, become very interested in the game. They gained new experience and euphoria from killing, which allowed people to drown in the game. For this reason, more and more people started playing Eternity. A hole appears in the dark sky, from which a bright green light emanates. A beam of this light pierces the city. Scary bony creatures fly in the green sky. A creature appears from the portal holding a sword in its hand. The world has expanded 1,000-fold, and a large number of secret worlds have appeared. One of the monsters resembles a man. His eyes and hair are bright blue. The second monster looks more like a wild beast. It has 3 red glowing eyes, large horns, a powerful body, and long blonde hair. Countless monsters and other races poured out. Skulls burning with bright flames fly through the air, and plump blue monsters with evil eyes and ferocious red dragons run along the road. People run away from monsters in fear. The calm world where ordinary people live and the crazy world with monsters are separated by only one line. Eternity merged with the real world. People rush at the monsters with weapons, attacking them. Now everyone can level up and change their class to become stronger and fight monsters. Juyi was transported to this world a year ago. This is a dark-haired, strong guy whose arm is bandaged and a pendant in the shape of a cross hangs from his neck. The girl rests against the guy's back. Juyi's mother died long before he had his first memories. A girl with blue hair lying on a couch is taken away by doctors. This guy's sister, Juyun, suddenly fell ill with a strange disease that was incurable by ordinary doctors. Juyi could only keep her alive with the help of low-level priests. The guy had to sell their house and also ask relatives for money to prolong his sister's life. However, this measure is only temporary, because if the cause of her illness is not found, then Juyun will always be on the verge of death. The medical bills are getting higher, and Juyun's brother's salary from his part-time jobs is no longer enough. The guy, seriously looking forward, stands next to other guys. He decides that he should awaken to the martial class to make money from cards and take Juyun to a high-level priest. The blonde man with a belt in his hand is a magician of the 24th level. He informs the guys that the class awakening ceremony is about to begin. The man tells the students whose numbers have been called to stand in the magic circle one by one. He raises his staff. After this movement, the circle lights up purple. A strong stream of wind emanates from it so that the guys cover their faces with their hands. They exclaim in surprise that a 24th level magician did this. Juyi looks at the magician with alarm, realizing that he is strong. The guy hears information that the magician's income is at least 6 figures, and this is a very profitable job. A man in a shirt and a paper in his hands is the class teacher of the 5th grade. His name is Lai Xiangyan. The man says number 1 is Zhong Cheng. The excited guy standing next to Juyi raises his hand, announcing that it is him. The others look back at Zhang Cheng with displeasure. Juyi looks at how Zhang Cheng stands in the right place, with bright flashes blazing around, and realizes that the ceremony is beginning. Students take what is happening seriously. Thousands of classes can be awakened, but at the awakening ceremony there are only 3 classes. In a world infested with monsters, the martial classes are the most respected by those around them, and the life-type classes are in the lowest positions. The guy, faced with cards such as Pharmacist, Enchanter, and Decomposer, doomedly falls to his knees and hits the ground with his fists. He angrily exclaims that not a single fighting class has appeared, which is a big failure. The voice reports that, according to statistics from previous years, about half of the group should awaken combat classes. Among the 3 classes, the sorcerer should have the greatest potential. Number 2 is called, which is Liu Chang. Then the 3rd, 4th number, and so on. Suddenly, number 31 is called, which is Zhu Yi. The guy boldly looks forward. A shout is heard telling the class representative to try harder. Zhu Yi heads towards the magic circle. Unfortunately, academic performance and statistics are not the deciding factors for awakening classes. The world is unpredictable. Anyone can be a dark horse. Zhu Yi's academic performance is good and his stats are also quite high, so he should be able to awaken a good class. After the ceremony, Xiang Yang and another man, who is the 6th grade homeroom teacher and goes by the name Tang Tianjun, talk. Tianjun happily asks Sang Yan about how many students have awakened the martial classes. He seriously replies that there are 16 such students. Tianjun smiles evilly at the disgruntled Sang Yan. The 6th grade homeroom teacher mockingly states that in their class, there are already 21 students who have awakened the combat class, and there is also one rare one who instantly fulfilled the quota for the annual exam. Both class teachers suddenly look around. Tianjun wonders why the 5th grade student is not moving. Zhu Yi concentrates and closes his eyes while standing in the magic circle. Opening one eye slightly, he notices that his cross pendant is rising and glowing. The guy is at a loss. The pendant rises even higher, and the light emitted by it becomes brighter. Now a huge stream of bright orange light comes out of it. System energy is detected, and the system is activated. One sign says loading is complete. The second sign says that this is the strongest class support system. The beginner's starting gift is activated. Class is plus. Sacred Angel Protection. Zhu Yi is faced with the question of whether he wants to get it. The guy looks at this in bewilderment. Zhu Yi covers his eyes with his hands. He puts his hand up to the sign and is surprised to realize that it really is a system. Zhu Yi bought this pendant on the street in his previous life, and it was with him when he moved. The guy thinks about it. He assumed that the pendant could be a treasure, but when he tried to test it, nothing came of it. Zhu Yi concludes that the pendant has now activated the system and given him a valuable gift, and this happened at the perfect time. In front of the guy, there is a sign that says that the protection of the Sacred Angel S+. The connection with light types has been significantly increased. All light and divine type skills will have an enhanced effect. In this world, abilities are divided into ranks from F to S. The higher the rank, the better the effect it has. Zhu Yi smiles, because he is happy with the outcome of events. The 3 classes that appear at the awakening ceremony are very closely related to the talents that a person possesses. Meanwhile, students and administrators watch in amazement. Someone exclaims that this is impossible, and this has not happened for several centuries. Some suggest that Zhu Yi did not awaken his class, and someone doesn't understand what the guy is doing and why he's just looking into the air. Suddenly, a powerful explosion occurs. The sky turns orange. Everyone looks up in amazement. The magician suggests that this is a class awakening phenomenon. Luo Heng corrects him, explaining that this is a phenomenon of awakening talent. There is a pillar of light in the sky that emits light, and next to him are black clouds. A bright angel appears against the background of the pillar. He looks up in surprise. The angel looks like a girl with red hair and 6 wings. She goes down to the young man. He looks at her in fascination. The angel's expression remains calm and her eyes are covered with a mask. Students watch what is happening. The angel has extraordinary beauty, and behind her is a yellow circle. The girl extends her hands to Zhu Yi. She tells him that light is his faith and source of strength. The guy looks forward. The angel kindly reaches out to him with the words that with the support of faith, the sacred light will always protect Zhu Yi and burn away evil. Her hand, emitting light, is directed at the guy. He throws his head back on the angel's hand in surprise. The girl gradually evaporates, and with her the beautiful yellow light. Zhu Yi closes his eyes. A small piece of flame glows in his forehead. Opening his eyes, a star appears on Zhu Yi's forehead, and the guy hears the words that she will always be there to protect him. There is a bright flash. It was created by Zhu Yi, whose face took on an evil look, and the guy's eyes are now colliding with the same fiery light. Now 3 silhouettes appear in the sky. One of them resembles a girl magician holding a staff in her hand. The second one looks like a man in a raincoat. His face is covered with a hood, and the third silhouette looks like a knight bending to his knee. The students look at what is happening in surprise. They exclaim that receiving a new talent from the class awakening ceremony is an incredible success. And only Xiang Yang seriously looks at what is happening to Zhu Yi. One guy asks the class teacher about what logos these classes have. The answer is only silence. The student calls Mr. Lai again. He looks forward tensely, trying to say something. The silhouettes become clearer, and a voice exclaims that these are hidden classes. Zhu Yi looks at them thoughtfully. He understands that he is made of light, a sacred priest, and a holy knight. Zhu Yi examines the silhouettes. The first one is made of light, which is a pure attack class. They deal incredible damage, but have no defensive skills. They can be easily injured or killed because the world is teeming with many races. The second is a priest. They have many rescue skills, and they have unrivaled resurrection skill. However, their combat skills are weak, and they are too dependent on others. Zhu Yi decides that this is not suitable for him. The third silhouette is the Holy Knight. This is a comprehensive class with a full set of skills, capable of defense, offense, and buffing. He doesn't excel in any area, but Zhu Yi has a talent for connecting with light. The guy clicks on the Holy Knight, thus choosing him. Zhu Yi decides that it suits him best. The one made of light and the priest disappear, leaving only a huge Holy Knight holding a weapon. He creates a stream of light so that Zhu Yi has to cover his face with his hand. The Holy Knight begins to twirl the weapon in his hands, naming skills such as humility, honesty, courage, empathy, responsibility, and fair deeds. Finishing the list, he hits the ground hard with his weapon, which resembles a hammer. There is a scream. The Holy Knight stands in front of Zhu Yi. He says that striving for justice and just causes means being a holy knight. Zhu Yi looks at the knight seriously. Flashes appear around him. A bright light envelops Zhu Yi. The rays of light rush towards his back. The inscription on the sign in front of the guy congratulates him on awakening the Holy Knight class. Zhu Yi takes on the appearance of a knight, and 6 wings are visible behind his back. Zhu Yi's gaze is full of strength and determination. 2 signs appear in front of him. The inscription on one of them congratulates the guy on awakening the Paladin class, and reports that he is at level 10. The second tablet informs you that you have acquired skills such as Pure White Blade, Slow Regeneration, Blessing of Weapons, and also received 10 additional points to your characteristics. Zhu Yi hears joyful cries praising him. Joyful students surround the guy. They ask Zhu Yi to take them on his team for the final exam, promising to get a high score. Xiang Yang pushes the students, making his way towards Zhu Yi. He angrily tells the students to stop crowding here and disperse. The class teacher approaches Zhu Yi with a huge smile. He congratulates him and advises him to go home to rest, and tomorrow to go to the principal's office. Zhu Yi looks at Xiang Yang with confusion, thinking that the teacher is scaring him. The guy comes home and sits on the bed. In front of Zhu Yi, there are signs with information about him. The guy notes that after awakening, not only his stats increased, but also additional points appeared. He eagerly looks at the table, seeing that his strength comes first, followed by physical data. Zhu Yi comes to the conclusion that only with enough strength will he be able to kill monsters effectively. Fire appears around the guy and his pendant rises. Zhu Yi feels the energy bubbling through his body, all thanks to the extra points. The guy happily notes that this is a great feeling. Another inscription appears on the sign. It says that a person has been found who used the extra points for the first time, and the Paladin task is activated. Zhu Yi looks contentedly at the table, reading his daily task and the reward for it. He realizes that he receives rewards for completing tasks, and decides to accept it, because he cannot miss such a reward. After he presses his finger on the table, a yellow light appears. This light completely surrounds him, and black little cubes float in the air. A test is selected that corresponds to Zhu Yi's level. The selection ends. The guy's task is to defeat Gilabi, an ancient E-rank monster. He looks at the table with confusion. A portal appears in front of the guy, as well as an inscription that asks him to take the task seriously, because if he dies during the test, he will die in real life. Zhu Yi's gaze shows concern and confusion. He finds himself in a dark place where there is only earth and stones. Zhu Yi realizes that he is in the mine. The guy looks to the side while a monster is heading towards him behind him. Zhu Yi recalls the story that these monsters live mainly in the mines, and although they are not predators, they will become cruel and bloodthirsty if they meet people. Realizing that something is happening, Zhu Yi glances to the side. The monster's head resembles a skull, with large fangs protruding from it, and brown horns growing from its head. Zhu Yi notes that these monsters have low intelligence. However, They use a cry of rage, and their claws are sharp enough to crush minerals. The monster makes a punch, and Zhuyi jumps to the side. The guy meets a monster for the first time and decides to try to kill it without using a skill. Zhuyi sits down, placing his hand on the ground and noting that he is agile, and also jumps much higher due to his increased stats. The monster rushes towards Zhuyi. He furiously throws a punch. However, the guy dodges. It happens again. Zhuyi says that the monster is very slow and its attacks can be seen from a kilometer away. Suddenly, the monster attacks with something resembling a tail, at the end of which there are 3 sharp tips. It hits Zhuyi directly. He flies into the wall. The guy looks at his stomach, in which a hole has formed. Blood flows profusely from her. It drips onto the ground, creating a dark puddle. Zhuyi puts his hand to the ground. The bloodthirsty monster stands right in front of the guy and looks at him. Zhuyi puts his other hand on the wound, saying that he was careless, and training at the academy cannot compare with real monsters. His hand emits a yellow bright light. An inscription appears on the sign that speaks of slow regeneration, located on the 1st level. Within 30 seconds, she restores a certain number of health points to no more than 2 teammates at a certain distance. Zhuyi, who is enveloped in flames, looks angrily at the monster. The guy says he can't count it out, even if it's a low-level monster. He attacks Zhuyi again. The guy makes a cross in front of him that emits light. Zhuyi decisively shouts that it is time to fight back. A glowing cross approaches the monster. The space is filled with bright yellow light. Zhuyi used a level 1 pure white blade, which requires concentrating power in the hands and swinging and crisscrossing to attack the enemies around. And the enemy's hit will be immobilized by light-type magic. Zhuyi takes off. He runs straight towards the monster. The guy uses a level 4 tiger attack, which requires him to grab an enemy in front of him and run a certain distance before throwing him, thus causing multiple damage to enemies standing in the way. Zhuyi approaches the monster. Behind the guy's back is a long, glowing golden trail. The monster crashes into the wall. Zhuyi smiles smugly and clenches his hand into a fist. The guy is enveloped in flames. He assumes that he successfully attacked the monster. Zhuyi sends golden rays straight at him. Holes form in the monster's body. Zhuyi throws another punch. An inscription appears on the table, which says that the guy killed the ancient monster Gilabi, and the test is completed. Now Zhuyi needs to choose a reward. He can gain 10 extra points, Paladin skills, or random Paladin equipment. Zhuyi stands in the mine, thinking about the reward. He understands that stat points and skills are the source of a person's strength, and he is in no hurry to level up his skills, so it would be better to choose additional points. The guy decides that a convenient weapon will be an excellent help in the upcoming trials. He is glad that the system gives weapons as a reward, because otherwise he would never be able to afford them in their current state. Zhuyi comes to the conclusion that it is worth choosing extra points and random equipment. The guy gets this award. His weapon is now a regular one-handed sword. Holding the acquired weapon in his hands, Zhuyi waits for the exit from the test to occur. He leaves the mine. The guy finds himself at home, while a notification arrives on his phone. Picking up the phone, Zhuyi sees a reminder that he needs to go to the hospital. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Zhuyan is watching the news on TV. The reporter reports that today a student activated the phenomenon of the sacred angel's condescension. According to the information received, this student awakened a talent, and then a hidden class paladin. The woman on screen adds that this is the first hidden class to appear in the city in 50 years. Zhuyan's heartbeat is broadcast on the monitor. A nurse comes into the girl's room. Zhuyan greets her. She angrily shows her the papers and exclaims that it's time to pay off the 10,000 hospital bills. Zhuyan looks at the bill in alarm. She asks why the amount is so large, because before it was 5,000. Zhuyan suggests that this is a mistake. She says that the older brother makes only 5,000, working 3 jobs. The girl doesn't know where her brother will get that amount from. The nurse angrily shouts that Zhuyan has been given a lot of medicines this month, including inhibitors and stabilizers, and even called a priest here, and her illness has worsened 3 times, and the entire hospital has been busy caring for the girl half the night. The nurse's expression and voice become increasingly angry. Someone's hand approaches her shoulder. The nurse states that then Zhuyan should not suffer from a disease that requires huge costs, and poor people should just accept their fate if there is no money and no way to pay. A man in a suit puts his hand on the nurse's shoulder and calls to her. He says he heard her insulting the patient. The man wonders if she can also respond sharply in the office of the head of the hospital. The nurse looks at him and another man standing next to him with displeasure. The nurse leaves saying that Ju Yun must pay today. The girl is interested in men about who they are. The thought flashes through her mind that they are here to demand payment. The man who put the nurse in her place earlier leans towards Ju Yun, smiles and shows her the card. It says that he is Zhao Wenbin's secretary. He tells Ju Yun that he is a friend of her older brother. Looking at the bills, Ju Yi enters the ward. He tells his sister that he went to pay the bills, and the hospital system shows that they already have 10,000 in their account. The guy asks his sister if she knows something about this. Ju Yun notices his brother and joyfully calls out to him. The men in suits look at Ju Yi in surprise. He asks who they are. The man who earlier entered into a dialogue with the nurse greets the guy contentedly, extending his hand to him. He explains that his name is Zhao Wenbin and he is the mayor's secretary. Wenbin says that he wanted to discuss something with Ju Yi. The guy is silent for a while and analyzes the situation. He understands that the mayor is the most powerful person in Lijiang City, and his secretary sometimes represents the interests of the mayor himself. Ju Yi doesn't understand why such a person was looking for him. After some thought, the guy shakes Wenbin's hand. Ju Yi notes that a hospital room is not a good place to talk and suggests they go somewhere else. Wenbin agrees. He orders his partner to stay and keep Xiao Yun company. Wenbin says that he and Ju Yi will go out for a while. The partner briefly agrees. Xiao Yun exclaims that it's her turn now. A dark-haired girl asks her friends if they saw the news. She exclaims that a hidden class has appeared in the second academy. Friends are surprised to know who it is. A guy with green hair, a girl with blue hair, and a brunette are sitting in a cafe. The brunette shows her friends the image on her phone, explaining that the guy's name seems to be Ju Yi and showing his photo. Someone's voice notes that the guy is cute. Ju Yi and Wenbin are sitting in the same cafe. The mayor's secretary congratulates the guy on receiving the S-Ranked talent, protecting the sacred angel and awakening the Paladin class. Ju Yi calmly replies that he was just lucky. Wenbin counters, explaining that receiving an S-Ranked talent at a regular class awakening ceremony is not just luck. The man opens the box, in which the key shines. Wenbin reports that the mayor is interested in Ju Yi, and even asks the media not to bother the guy. The secretary says that the mayor has prepared everything necessary to prepare for the exam, and everything is in the vault of the city bank, and this is the only key to the safe deposit box. Wenbin asks Ju Yi to let him know if the guy has a different wish. He looks thoughtfully at the key, reflecting on the situation. Ju Yi understands that the mayor believes that he can become a powerful person and can be invested in. The guy also realizes that, on the other hand, everything has to be paid for, and the mayor probably thinks that Ju Yi will repay him in the future. Wenbin grins and adds that from today on, a professional medical team will monitor Ju Yun around the clock, and the mayor has contacted a level 31 rank priest to come here and treat the guy's sister. Ju Yi realizes that Wenbin is forcing him to agree. The guy smiles and puts his hand on the box, closing it. He says he's very grateful. The mayor's secretary replies that there is nothing like that. Ju Yi stands in front of the bed in his sister's room. She happily notes that her brother will be able to rise to the top. The guy puts his hand on her head with displeasure, noting that she needs to focus on getting better. Ju Yun asks his brother what his special skills are. Ju Yi scratches his chin and thinks. Upon awakening, he has 3 special skills. These skills are Pure White Blade for attack, Slow Regeneration for healing, and Weapon Blessing for support. The guy realizes that he can try Slow Regeneration on his sister, because she can restore her health. Ju Yi puts his hand on Ju Yun's forehead. A golden light appears at this place. The sister watches in surprise what Ju Yi is doing. Slow regeneration occurs. The space around Ju Yun is filled with a bright golden light. The girl closes her eyes and notes that this is very pleasant. Ju Yun feels like she has been to a hot spring and had a full body massage. A bright blush appears on the girl's face. Ju Yi wonders if his sister is doing better. She grabs her hand and joyfully exclaims that it no longer hurts. Her hands are not so icy. Ju Yun praises his brother. The guy looks at his sister with warmth. He thinks that one of the reasons he chose the Paladin was because of Ju Yun's illness, since the Paladin is considered a support class. Ju Yi realizes that this will not heal her, but at least it will help reduce the pain. The next day, Ju Yi walks down the corridor with Luo Heng. He tells the guy that yesterday several dozen universities called him to invite Ju Yi to join them, and there were also 4 teachers from universities that ranked in the top 10. Luo Heng advises the guy to do everything possible to get as many privileges as possible. The man explains that Zhu Yi will receive the best education, because all these teachers are professionals above the 35th level. The guy is interested in which universities these teachers are from. Luo Heng replies that they are from Rongyang, Chuanan, Anji, and Hanqing universities. Zhu Yi asks if there are any among them who are in the top 3. The man replies that universities of this level always recruit students based on exam results. They do not look at talent and class, and they never have special entrance exams. Walking to the office door, they hear a conversation. Someone claims to have used a long-distance teleportation system to arrive here. Another person asks if he was willing to spend a level 30 magic core to activate the system. He replies that he is ready to spend anything for the sake of a genius. A voice shouts that Zhu Yi will take away Chuanan University. Luo Heng opens the door to the office, and Zhu Yi stands next to him. The director informs the admissions representatives that Zhu Yi is here. The glances of these people are directed at the guy. Luo Heng introduces all the members of the selection committee to him. The first is an older man in a blue shirt. This is Tian Fu from Rongyang University. The second is a guy with red hair and glasses. This is Lai Bing from Chuanan University. The third he represents is a beautiful red-haired girl. Her name is Zhu Yu, and she is from Hanqing University. Fourth, Luo Heng represents a large, serious man. This is Yu Yuan from Anji University. Zhu Yu quickly bows, saying that he is glad to meet these people. Tian Fu understands that the guy is not arrogant because of his hidden class, but is humble and level-headed. Tian Fu concludes that Zhu Yi is a good guy. The commission members look at Zhu Yi calmly and seriously. Tian Fu suggests getting straight to the point. He says that he will talk about the offer from Rongyang University. Lai Bing looks at the man with displeasure. Tian Fu invites Zhu Yi to come to their university and get 2 million yuan with 3 special stole skill books. The guy is standing opposite the representative of Xinjiang University. He thinks that the monthly income of an ordinary family is 6,000 yuan, and Rongyang University offers 2 million. Zhu Yi is pleasantly surprised. He realizes that even the mayor did not give him the Paladin skill books, which ordinary people cannot even touch. Smirking, Lai Bing mockingly notes that Rongyang University is stingy as always. He looks at Zhu Yi resolutely. The man states that Chuanan University offers 3 million yuan for admission to them, as well as 3 Paladin skill books per year and classes taught by a level 56 Paladin. Tian Fu glares at Lai Bing. Luo Heng and Zhu Yi look at the man with great surprise, because a level 56 Paladin is almost the top of the world, and by becoming his disciple, you can get incomparable benefits. Zhu Yu flirtatiously straightens her hair and notes that they are all not sincere enough. The girl firmly states that Hanqing University does not have a lot of funds. They have 2 million. However, if Zhu Yu comes to them, she will immediately give him a B-rank cultivation book. Luo Heng is amazed by the B-rank cultivation book. He looks at Zhu Yi angrily, wanting him to say yes. After all, a B-rank cultivation book cannot be measured by money. With all these treasures, even pigs can be turned into powerful monsters. Zhu Yu looks at Zhu Yi seriously. She asks him what he will choose. The guy calmly apologizes and says that he has decided to refuse admission under the priority right. Luo Heng, who clearly did not expect this, looks at Zhu Yi in surprise. The director excitedly asks the guy not to rush. Zhu Yu, with a stern look, asks the guy why he made such a decision. He resolutely answers that he would like to get into a top 3 university. Among the top 10 universities, the top 3 are Suhan, Qingjing, and Madu universities. They are commonly referred to as the top 3 universities in the country. They only enroll 1,000 students each year, and their enrollment is not limited to humans. Elves, giants, and other races can also participate. Other races are naturally stronger than humans. In addition to the countless geniuses of our country, entering such universities is as difficult as ascending to heaven. Suddenly, laughter is heard. This sound is made by Tian Fu, around whom blue rays appeared. He says that he thought Zhu Yi was a good guy, but it turned out that he was just a weak ignoramus. The man angrily states that he has read Zhu Yi's file, and he has lost a lot in these 18 years, and he does not have enough resources to make up for the loss. Tian Fu concludes that the guy is weak and has low characteristics. Can barely stand, resisting Tian Fu's power, and looks down. The guy understands that just yesterday he would have fallen to his knees because of such a powerful aura. Tian Fu continues his speech. He says that with Zhu Yi's current strength, it will be difficult for him to enter a top 3 university, but even if he succeeds, he will end up in last place. Luo Heng begins to emit violet-colored light. He stands opposite Tian Fu. Luo Heng assumes that he is trying to intimidate his student on his territory. Meanwhile, Zhu Yu notices that Zhu Yi can withstand Tian Fu's aura for 3 breaths. The girl concludes that the guy is truly extraordinary. Tian Fu grins displeasedly and looks at Luo Heng. He reports that when recruiting students, not only their potential is taken into account, but also their attitude. Tian Fu states that with this attitude, Zhu Yi will become a nobody even if he is accepted. Luo Bing says he will leave first and bids farewell to Director Luo. Yu Yuan displeasedly notes that there is no point in him staying here anymore, because Zhu Yi has too high ambitions. Luo Heng anxiously asks them to give the guy another chance. At this time, Zhu Yi's back was turned to the others. Zhu Yu says that the guy is brave, but there are a lot of geniuses in the country, and other races are inherently stronger than humans, so getting into a university from the top 3 will be extremely difficult. Zhu Yi smiles, saying that he will prove his strength with the exam results. The guy has his sacred power behind him. Zhu Yi thinks that the exam is still a month away, and he will be able to increase his strength to a terrifying level with the help of his system. Zhu Yi firmly decides that he will enter a top 3 university. Zhu Yu looks at the guy in surprise. She realizes that she has not seen such a decisive look for a very long time. The girl seemed to return to those days when she fought on the front line. Zhu Yu thinks that she has lived in comfort for too long, and even in her thoughts, she strives for stability. She concludes that there is a whole gulf between her and the youth. With a wave of his hand and a smile, Zhu Yu tells Zhu Yi that you will be looking forward to his results. The girl says that they will meet again. A month later, a huge number of people come to the spacious room. An image of a guy can be seen in the air. Some people are sitting in the stands and some are standing in the arena. In front of them is a portal from which a blue light emanates. Someone shouts that they are nervous, because the exam will begin soon. Someone will report that the exam will be taken by the demon Yang, so they are doomed. Students discuss that he took the exam 2 years ago, and the average score in their region was the lowest ever. Someone is gossiping that Zhu Yi has refused admission by priority right, and he wants to enroll in top 3 universities. One of the students exclaims emphatically that Zhu Yi will lose everything because he thinks he's the coolest by having a hidden class. The disgruntled guy notes that Zhu Yi is here. His friend turns around and asks in amazement where Zhu Yi is. They notice him. Zhu Yi walks confidently. He boldly and calmly looks only forward. A slightly noticeable flame emanates from the guy. The students look at Zhu Yi with alarm and a little fear. One of them notes that Zhu Yi seems to have become different. He goes straight to the portal and looks into it. The student states that there is something powerful about Zhu Yi. Information about the location appears on the portal. The students exclaim that it is deep in the dark forest and also discuss the monsters that live there. They realize that cat monsters are incredibly agile, and minotaurs have thick skins. The students assume that the demon Yang wants them to die. Someone notes in surprise that the maximum possible number of people in a group reflects the complexity of the location. And in previous exams there were 3, but this time there were 5. A stern man stands in front of the students, his eyes glowing red. He loudly says that the guys must act in accordance with their abilities, and if they encounter any deadly enemies, then they must immediately use the teleportation scroll, because if they die in the location, they will die in real life. The timer on the portal shows zeros. The man exclaims that students must survive, even if it means failing the exam. He states that time is up. The space around the guys is filled with blue light. The man tells them to prepare to enter the location. Students are visible on the screens. Sun Kang, a warrior class, walks through the forest, holding a sword in his hand. His test is difficult, and the number of participants in the group is 1. Assassin class Mo Kin runs, carefully looking around. He also has a difficult test. The number of participants in the group is equal to 1. Long Fei, Wang Fan and Sun Jian are holding weapons in their hands and stand ready to attack. Long Fei is an elemental mage, Wang Fang is a marksman, and Sun Jian is a dark mage. Their tests are difficult, and the number of participants in the group is 3. Zhu Yi of the Paladin class walks calmly and decisively through the forest. The difficulty of his challenge is a nightmare, and the number of participants in the group is equal to 1. Zhang Wei of the Archer class, Wang Lai of the Fire Mage class, Tian Hong of the Sword class, Erlan of the alchemist class carefully walk through the clearing, ready for battle. People who came to watch are fascinated by looking at the screens and having discussions. Some say that, as expected from the elite classes, with the exception of 2 groups, everyone else went solo. This means that you can take all the experience for yourself and get a higher grade on the exam. But the risk of death also increases, and only high school students of the elite class dare to do this. A joyful girl with blue hair points her hand at the screen, exclaiming that this is Juyi. The guy walks through the forest, and behind him, from the thick of the forest, bloodthirsty red eyes can be seen. Bones and skulls lie under Juyi's feet. People are surprised that he decided to go solo on terrible difficulty. Luo Heng and Jia Tao sitting next to each other are looking at the screen. Jia Tao is the director of the Department of Education. He looks at the screen in confusion, trying to say something. Jia Tao exclaims that the Paladin has incredible support abilities and he will be an ace no matter what group he joins. He angrily asks Luo Hen why the guy decided to go solo and even chose the nightmare difficulty with a 40% chance of death. Jia Tao seriously informs Director Luo that the city council has given Juyi a lot of things this month to give him a chance to achieve good results. If he dies there, the reputation of the Lijiang City administration will suffer greatly. The screen shows Juyi walking through the forest. Jia Tao exclaims that the boy's actions mean that he is ignoring the administration's efforts to train him. Raising his hand, Luo Heng addresses the angry Jia Tao with a smile on his face. The director asks him not to worry and to trust Juyi, because he probably has some hidden advantage that should help him. A huge number of glowing red eyes are looking at Juyi. The guy, noticing something, looks decisively to the side. A table appears near him, inside of which there is a yellow light. Juyi takes out a weapon from there, not taking his eyes off what is happening around him. A pink monster with white hair is rushing towards the guy. Juyi holds in his hand a powerful weapon that resembles a double axe. He notes that everything came out on time. The guy angrily hits the monster with his weapon. As he does this, he screams for the monster to die. Juyi kills the monster, drops of blood splash around. He looks at the creature with irritation. Juyi realizes that he is level 10, but the average stat value has reached 47, which is equivalent to level 30. The guy suggests that he can even become the top student in the entire Sukin district. Having cut the monster, Juyi stands in front of it, looking forward. At this time, the guy is being watched by other monsters who are hiding behind the bushes. Juyi smiles, his eyes sparkling with excitement and determination. The guy states that if the monster doesn't attack, he will do it himself. Juyi holds a weapon in his hands and runs forward. He emits golden light and a mark glows on his forehead. The guy uses a weapon blessing that concentrates holy light, increasing attack power and weapon accuracy for party members at a certain distance. Juyi swings his weapon. He cuts the blue monster's body. The guy understands that under the protection of the Holy Angel's S+ rank talent, the Paladin's Blessing of Weapons ability was also enhanced, and the attack of the single-bladed axe was increased by 21 points. There is a powerful golden flash behind the guy, and he swings his weapon again. Juyi assumes that the other students are jealous of such a powerful buff. The guy understands that during the exam, the level of weapons cannot be higher than 3 stars, but the blow of the axe in his hand was equal to a 5-star weapon. 3 identical monsters, differing only in color, approach Juyi, wanting to attack him. The guy has his back to them and is about to use a clean white blade. He thinks that in an exam where every characteristic is valuable, this is enough to create a distance between him and the rest of the participants. The space is filled with many tables on which it is written about the use of a pure white blade. Someone watching the test exclaims in surprise that this is amazing. Another person happily points out that Juyi used a pure white blade at the exact moment he was attacked. The guy's hand approaches his paw. He grabs it and a bright light appears around the paw. Juyi raised the pure white blade's level to level 5, and now it has powerful light element damage, and under the protection of the Holy Angel, it can instantly kill any low-level monsters. The weapon flies at the monster. It slams into him, slamming him into the wall. People exclaim that this is amazing, and Juyi has defeated the monsters. One guy shouts that Juyi is very strong. The second one notes that he has seen axes with one blade before, and they are really heavy, but looking at the way Juyi handles it, it seems like it is a toy. Some suggest that the guy put all his points into strength. Jia Tao objects, advising the guys to look more carefully. The man notes that Juyi is faster than the cat monsters, but he is not only physically fast, but he also releases magic quickly, and in addition, it is very powerful, and his ick is definitely high. The guys look at the screen in fascination, watching the tests. Someone notes that the angle of the axe, the control of attack speed, and the force of the blows are well thought out, as if the guy is a combat genius. The observer does not understand how Zhuyi could end up in the 5th grade. Jia Tao sternly notes that Zhuyi's fighting spirit is strong. However, his methods are unwise, because the guy wasted his stamina on the first wave of cats. The man understands that on nightmare difficulty the monsters are not only strong, but there are also a huge number of them, and even the best magicians can fail due to such a dilution of magical energy. Monsters surround Zhuyi, who is emitting light and holding an axe in his hand. The guy wields it decisively. Jia Tao notes that the weight of the axe is a huge load, and swinging it once or twice may seem like nothing, but swinging it constantly is not worth it. The man imagines a picture of an exhausted Zhuyi sitting on his knees, unable to fight, while monsters advance on him. Jia Tao understands that the guy will not have the strength to hold the axe, and in the end he will be torn to pieces by the cats. Another wave of monsters is approaching Zhuyi. People watching notice this, and also that there are at least 100 cats there. They wonder if Zhuyi can handle them. Angry cats rush towards the guy, about to attack. However, he wins again by swinging his axe. Zhuyi lifts himself off the ground. The guy creates a fiery cross. Now, in place of the monsters, only a large fiery flash is visible, which was created by Zhuyi. A huge beam is formed that easily cuts through the monsters. Zhuyi resolutely continues to fight, swinging his axe. The guy's weapon touches the last monster, and he, like the others, dies. Zhuyi is surrounded by a large number of dead monsters lying on the ground. A blue ball appears in front of the guy's face. Zhuyi looks at him in surprise. The ball expands, forming a portal. The guy seriously heads towards him, realizing that this is the way to the next level. Entering the portal, Zhuyi disappears from this world and ends up in another. He walks towards a huge number of bloodthirsty monsters, holding an axe in his hand. A young man in a yellow cap films himself in front of a screen that broadcasts students taking an exam. He greets subscribers on the QAkin stream, introducing himself as Streamer KK. The guy exclaims that right now they are broadcasting the exam of the most famous student from the 2nd Academy, the owner of S+Rank, the shining Paladin Zhuyi. Streamer KK is surprised to put a stopwatch in front of him, which shows 3:17. The guy claims that Zhuyi completed the first level on nightmare difficulty in 3 minutes and 17 seconds. He moves closer to the camera, which is held by a man in a shirt, clearly unhappy with this behavior of Streamer KK. He continues to shout and reports that this is 29 seconds faster than the best student of the previous year. The man in the shirt nervously asks the streamer not to block the camera. One girl notes in surprise that Zhuyi continues to swing his sword and slash monsters, but in the end he is only a little tired. She wonders what level of physical characteristics the guy has. Another girl with pink hair braided happily reports that director Jia said it was unwise to use up all your stamina on the first wave, and she can hardly believe that the guy did it. Zhang Yang closes his eyes and displeasedly tells Fei Fei to watch carefully, and director Jia would not lie to them. She scratches her chin and slyly notes that the man is smiling. Zhang Yang asks the girl not to say anything stupid. The man touches his face, on which a smile sparkles, and a joyful Fei Fei sits behind him, victoriously moving her arms and head. Zhang Yang wonders if his smile was really that obvious. Zhuyi stands in front of a crowd of monsters, holding an axe in his hand. People are exclaiming that the guy has taken it to the next level. At the end of the crowd of monsters is a minotaur of the 14th level, silver rank. He has skills such as Berserk, Furious Attack, Battle Axe, Invulnerability. A little closer to Zhuyi are the demon cats of the light type of the 12th level, bronze rank. They have skills such as Mastering Light and Healing. Even closer is a fire type cat demon of the 13th level, bronze rank. He wields fire, a fireball, and a flash of flame. And the location closest to Zhuyi is occupied by the cursed demon cat of the 11th level, bronze level. He has skills such as Mastery of Darkness, Curses. All the monsters look at Zhuyi with bloodthirsty red eyes. Some of them bare their teeth. The guy calmly looks at the opponents, and in front of his eyes there is a blue glowing circle, as Zhuyi uses the usual assessment skill. The guy thinks that cats are warriors, light cats, who are healers, fire magicians, and there are also dark cats and a silver-ranked minotaur, which can cause enormous damage. Zhuyi understands that a warrior, healer, and magician are the standard composition of the group. The guy realizes that on the first level there were just some fools, but on this one he sees a team of trained warriors. Zhui concludes that the risk of death has increased hundreds of times. The Minotaur clenches his hands into fists and raises them, beginning to growl loudly. The cats around him also make loud noises. The monsters run towards Zhui. Fire-type cats create fireballs. Their body is enveloped in flames. The cursed cat folds his hands, closes his eyes, and is enveloped in violet flame. A third eye appears in his forehead. Zhuyi's eyes carefully move downwards. Wrapped around his arms and legs are what appear to be many long, purple, skinny arms. People exclaim that Zhuyi was cursed by a cat monster. The monsters angrily rush towards the guy. Fireballs fly at him. The spectators shout that Zhuyi is in danger. Now the cat's curse wraps around the guy's entire body. Grinning, he says that warriors rush to attack, mages apply buffs, and healers provide support. Zhuyi notes that their teamwork isn't that bad. People silently and fearfully look at the screen. Fei Fei even covers her face with her hands. The cat flies towards Zhuyi, and its paw emits fiery light. The guy raises his hands to the level of the pendant, and the cross begins to glow. He uses the cross of divine light. Zhuyi's eyes glow with a bright flame, and there is a cross between his hands. It grows to enormous sizes, and everything around glows. The monsters begin to howl in pain and despair. They shield themselves from the light with their paws. Zhuyi stands in front of a crowd of dead monsters. There is dust around the guy and a cross behind him. Level 4 Divine Light Cross summons Divine Light and forms a cross behind the person, dealing continuous light element damage to every enemy within a certain range. The spectators shout that the guy is very strong. All the low-level monsters were killed in an instant. Some people claim that Paladin is a B-rank mass destruction skill, not a support skill. An angry and slightly alarmed Jia Tao exclaims that, as with talent, skills are classified by rank, from lowest to highest, and there are 7 ranks in total. The higher the rank, the more powerful the effect, and the more difficult it is to obtain this skill. The man looks up at the screen. He thinks that the resources that were provided to Zhuyi could at best provide a C-rank skill. Jia Tao doesn't understand where the guy got the B-rank skill from. He concludes that Zhuyi is not so simple. A guy holding a weapon in his hand and a cross behind his back looks at the Minotaur standing opposite. Zhuyi puts his weapon forward and boldly, defiantly looks at the monster. The guy notes that only the Minotaur remains. He tells him to come over. The Minotaur, with a powerful body and an ominous appearance, spreads his arms slightly. He has berserk skills and invulnerability. The monster's foot hits the ground. The Minotaur has a skill called Combat Stomp. The monster cuts the earth into 2 parts. However, Zhuyi manages to jump to avoid falling into the resulting abyss. The Minotaur flies towards the guy, emitting purple light. The monster uses the Furious Attack skill, and because it is under the effect of the Invulnerability skill, nothing can stop its attack. Zhuyi swings his weapon. He hits the Minotaur so hard that he flies quite far away. Zhuyi used the Air Strike skill. The guy folds his arms crosswise in front of his chest. He uses the Pure Light Blade skill. Zhuyi flies towards the Minotaur. He just hums. The guy attacks the monster, but it doesn't die. Zhuyi stands opposite and raises his weapon. He notes that the monster is tenacious. The guy deftly cuts the Minotaur with his body. He looks at himself in fear. Zhuyi cut him down with one powerful blow. The guy looks at the Minotaur lying in a pool of his own blood with his eyes open. Zhuyi assumes that the monster is not dead yet. The Minotaur looks fearfully at the guy who raises his leg. Zhuyi steps on his muzzle, and a bright flash forms under the guy's foot. Behind Zhuyi lies a dead Minotaur, and a portal appears in front of the guy. The guy notes that there should be a boss room on the next level. The audience rejoices. Someone shouts that Zhuyi defeated a Minotaur who is 4 meters tall. One of the spectators asks not to forget that the monster was in berserk mode. Someone exclaims that he loves Zhuyi. Streamer KK is holding a phone in his hands, and a microphone is located near his lips. He loudly declares that the guy cleared the 2nd level in 59 seconds. The guy notes that this is impressive, and Zhuyi is timing his skills perfectly and has absolute control over his power. Jia Tao folds his hands and, with a smile on his face, says that it's hard to believe, but Zhuyi awakened his class just a month ago. He turns to Luo Heng and congratulates him on having an outstanding student at the 2nd Academy. The director smiles and replies that times are changing, and now it's time for their academy to acquire a genius. Luo Heng looks thoughtful. The man understands that since the founding of the academy, their strongest student occupied, at best, 721st place in the district ranking. Luo Heng thinks that perhaps Zhu Yi can take the academy to a new level. Someone points a finger at the screen and asks in surprise why Zhu Yi doesn't rest before meeting with the boss. Jia Tao and Luo Heng look at the screen with confusion. Jia Tao furrows his eyebrows sternly, shouting that Zhu Yi is a madman, and if he loses the boss battle because he didn't have time to recover, then it will be a huge loss. Frightened by Jia Tao's harsh speech, Luo Heng raises his hand to calm the man. He assumes that Zhu Yi had his reasons and suggests they be patient. Many hands are reaching out to the gold medal that says, Top 100. The densely populated Suhan district is home to a huge amount of talented people, and anyone who wants to be in the top 100 will most likely choose to play solo on a nightmare difficulty. And in order to become the best, all things being equal, one must complete the level in the shortest possible time. Zhu Yi enters the dark room where the throne is located. There sits a boss with whom the guy will have to fight. The boss notes that a man came to him. This is a strong, big purple monster with a white beard, scary horns, and a nose ring. The monster is a level 16 gold rank Minotaur King. To conclude that a person had come to him, the monster used the assessment skill. The Minotaur's skills are unknown, because the difference in levels is too great, and it is impossible to evaluate the skills. The Minotaur angrily says that a man dared to set foot on his territory. Raising his weapon, the Minotaur towers over the guy and continues the phrase, saying that Zhu Yi must be prepared for death since he set foot on his territory. The guy uses the blessing of dawn, courage, God's gift and protection. The monster looks furiously at the enemy and bares its teeth. Zhu Yi, who has taken the form of a paladin, calmly waves his hand, saying that he is here. The original paladin form has been activated. The Minotaur rushes towards Zhu Yi. He is also ready for battle. The guy swings a weapon at the monster. Everything is illuminated with a bright golden light. Zhu Yi attacks the Minotaur, however, he resists. The guy realizes that it seems that even an axe with 4 buffs cannot penetrate the monster's skin. Zhu Yi continues to strike. The weapon hits the Minotaur's body. The monster looks at the weapon in surprise. The Minotaur growls angrily. He swings his huge axe at Zhu Yi. An impact occurs, causing the surface of the earth to collapse. However, Zhu Yi is agile, and he managed to jump away without being injured. The evil Minotaur continues to attack with his weapon. The impact rips through the concrete pillars. Zhu Yi looks down, realizing that his bones would have been crushed if not for the paladin's armor. Now Zhu Yi knows what to do so that the blow is not in vain. The guy extends his hand forward, putting some fingers forward. A glowing cross appears in front of his hand. Zhu Yi uses the Spear of Victory. The surface under the guy is broken, and circles of fire appear around him. The Minotaur stands in front of Zhu Yi. The 3rd level Victory Spear is filled with divine light, and the enemy pierced by it will suffer enormous damage. Fire spears fly straight towards the monster. He fights back furiously with his hammer. Zhu Yi thinks that the Minotaur King is strong. He surpasses the guy in strength and physical characteristics, so he cannot be defeated by strength alone. The guy understands that usually people prefer to stall for time and wear him out, but this deprives them of the slightest chance of taking first place. Zhu Yi stands with his hand extended forward, which is shrouded in flames. The guy realizes that the examiners would not force students into hopeless situations, so there must be several ways to get out of the situation. The Minotaur diligently fights off with his hammer, a huge number of fiery spears flying at him. Zhu Yi notices that the Minotaur King is inferior to him in agility. That is, it will be difficult for him to fend off the guy's blows if he attacks quickly and from different angles. The spear crashes into the Minotaur. Zhu Yi is warned that he has little mana left, so it needs to be replenished. The paladin clenches his fist tightly, thinking that besides his agility, the king of the Minotaurs has another weak point. It is resistance. The evil monster looks down with displeasure at the explosion that occurred due to Zhu Yi's attack. The Minotaur sits down on one knee. The guy thinks that the monster has high endurance and a lot of health points, but he is more susceptible to negative effects and damage. For this reason, Zhu Yi decides that he needs to use several high-damaged skills at once in a short period of time. Zhu Yi decisively approaches the enemy, realizing that this is his chance. The Minotaur sits on his knees and angrily bares his teeth while fiery spears fly at him. A bright explosion occurs. The table again displays a warning that Zhuyi has little mana left and should be replenished. The guy thinks that he needs precise control of the time and release of the skill. Zhuyi runs towards the Minotaur, thinking that he may not pass the exam because he will run out of mana before he kills the Minotaur King. The guy clicks on the table, noting that he is very sorry because he wanted to use cool skills. Jumping up, Zhuyi deftly cuts the monster's body in half, saying that there is no time left. A tired guy stands, leaning on his weapon with one hand and his leg with the other. Zhuyi returns to his normal appearance. The Paladin's helmet gradually disappears. His facial expression takes on a surprised and slightly confused look. He is informed that his passage has received an SSS rank, and he is in first place in terms of time to clear this location. Zhuyi realizes in amazement that he seems to have become the first in Suhan County. Clenching his fists in victory, he exclaims joyfully that he did it. The guy's body flies in space. Above, the space has a blue color and bubbles on which words such as responsibility, debt, sister, big bills, low stats, worthless talent are written. And from below, black hands emitting red light grab his legs and pull him down. The year Zhuyi moved here, his mother passed away and his sister became seriously ill, leaving him with huge debts, forced to pay Zio Yun's hospital bills. This all hung heavily on Zhuyi. Although he is tired, he continues to train. Even under such harsh conditions, Zhuyi did not give up. The guy is focused and also serious. He understands that if he cannot improve his stats, he will continue to practice fighting skills and develop his fighting spirit. At the ceremony, an angel appeared in front of Zhuyi. The emergence of the system gave him a second chance, but fate is still in his hands. Zhuyi is well aware that he must take advantage of this chance and work harder than anyone else. Dressed in Paladin gear, Zhuyi looks forward calmly and confidently. His heart is still unshakable. The equipment completely evaporates from the guy's body. He walks towards the portal that has appeared, realizing that it is time to return. Information appears on the table, which notifies Zhuyi that he has received 5,212 experience points, additional points, 20 skill points, 11th, 12th, and 13th levels. Zhuyi also received an item that resembled a silver bracelet with a blue rectangle. This is the Forest Belt, thanks to which, during battles in the forest, the owner will receive constant enhancements depending on physical data, up to 3 times the restoration of health, stamina, and mana. Zhuyi also received the Ring of the Forest, which has the same effect as the Belt of the Forest. However, the ring has attributes such as agility and intelligence, while the belt has stats and strength. Zhuyi receives 10 wild strawberries, which restore a certain amount of mana after consumption. Also now the guy has a card of the Minotaur King, which is a material for enchanting, and the durability of the item after enchanting increases by 20. Zhuyi moves to his world. Around him there is only blue light and black and blue cubes. The guy finds himself in the arena, where he is greeted with cheers. Someone congratulates him on his return, and someone confesses their love. Some even claim that Zhuyi is his god. People call him the god Zhuyi. Zhuyi himself looks at them with misunderstanding and even a little scared. The guy hears sounds and looks back. Turning around, he sees Luo Heng, Jia Tao, and the people standing behind them, who are not stopping to film Zhuyi. Luo Heng admiringly notes that not once in 100 years since the founding of the academy has there been such a thing that someone has cleared the location on nightmare difficulty in 10 minutes. The director says that based on his many years of experience in conducting exams, Zhuyi has the potential to take first place. Luo Heng happily concludes that the guy has a great future ahead of him. He, smiling, assumes that the man is flattering him. Suddenly, someone's beautiful blue car arrives at the arena. People are dumbfounded by this. Some suggest that this is a magical creation of the S-400 that can go into flight mode. The guys understand that this is a car that costs as much as a house in the capital. Jia Tao approaches the car and touches its handle. The man says that the results will be known in at least 3 days, and they will report them immediately. Zhuyi thanks Jia Tao, and Luo Heng advises him to go back and rest, noting that they will wait for good news. Zhuyi came to visit his sister in the hospital. After the last conversation, Wen Bin quickly fulfilled his promise, and Zhu Yong was placed in a luxury hospital ward, where a professional medical team monitored her condition around the clock. In the elevator, a red-haired nurse greets Zhuyi kindly. He explains that he came to see Zhu Yun and has good news for her. Pressing the floor button, the girl says that the guy had an exam today and the results should be excellent. Steam enters the elevator. causing the nurse to wrap her arms around herself against the cold. Zhu Yi stands nearby motionless. The nurse asks why it is so cold here. She assumes the air conditioner was set too low. The guy looks at the cold steam and ice, about to say what it is. They arrive on the 26th floor. The elevator opens and the nurse and Zhu Yi see ice in front of them. The nurse is frightened and interested in what is happening. They see that the walls, floor, and ceiling are completely covered in ice, and people are frozen in such a position, as if they were running to escape something terrible. Zhu Yi immediately remembers Zhu Yun with alarm. He quickly takes off and runs away. The frightened nurse reaches out to the guy and calls him. The girl becomes covered in ice and freezes in this position. Zhu Yi holds a weapon in his hand and makes his way into his sister's room. He calls out to her excitedly. Zhu Yi's eyes are filled with anxiety and fear. The entire ward is covered in ice. Xiao Yun lies on the bed, writhing in pain, and a girl stands next to her, creating a green circle in front of her with her hands. Ice that resembles a dragon comes out of Xiao Yun. Zhu Yi is ready to fight. He creates a fireball. The girl standing next to Zhu Yun shouts at Zhu Yi to stop and not attack. The guy obeys and clenches his fist so that the ball disappears. Zhu Yi looks at the ice dragon. He approaches the girl, calling her little sister King. She explains that Zhu Yun's heart could shatter into pieces if they act rashly. Zhu Yi wonders why the dragon is here. King explains that Zhu Yun's illness suddenly worsened and everything became covered in ice. The girl carefully holds the magic circle, emitting green energy. King reports that the best thing she can do now is to stop the cold from leaving this floor. King yells at Zhu Yi to leave quickly. Zhu Yi is scared and worried. He is going to say something about his sister. Gritting her teeth from tension, the girl interrupts him, informing him that without a high-level priest, she can only do so much. Zhu Yi looks ahead resolutely and says that he understands. The guy calls the system. His eyes light up yellow and flames appear around Zhu Yi. He tells the system to use all his points to perfect slow regeneration. Information appears on the table that the slow regeneration of the 4th level has been improved to the 10th level. Now it fully restores the health and mana of party members at a certain distance for a certain time. Above Zhu Yi is a sign resembling a sun, and inside it is an eye. Improved slow regeneration activated. King fearfully crosses his arms in front of his chest. She is surprised to note that the Paladin's healing magic is so powerful that it even surpasses that of a level 23rd priest. Zhu Yi creates 2 yellow circles above his sister with his hands. King watches the guy work. He tells the girl to ask the secretary to invite a high-level priest while he replaces King. The girl replies that the schedules of high-level priests are tightly packed, and the meeting that the secretary has scheduled will take place next week. And even if they call now, she will not make it in time. Zhu Yi turns his head, and with a stern look asks King to tell the secretary that if he can summon a high-level priest, then he will grant his request in the future. King, hearing this, looks at the guy in surprise. He briefly agrees and runs away, leaving Zhu Yi in the ward. He concentratedly continues to use slow regeneration on his sister. The exacerbation of the disease is something that Zhu Yun has experienced every night for the past year, and under the influence of her cold aura, she has been experiencing severe pain throughout her body. Zhu Yi knew that the influence of the cold was getting stronger recently, but he had no idea that it was strong enough to affect the outside world. Zhu Yi's eyebrows are furrowed, and drops of tension appear on his forehead. He tries diligently to protect his sister. Day and night, ice can be seen on the outside of the hospital building near the window of Xiao Yun's room. Zhu Yi is partially covered in ice. He is exhausted from fatigue because he has put in a lot of effort. The dragon hangs over the guy, opening its mouth. A green ball flies around the chamber, hitting the walls and passing through the dragon. Zhu Yun clenches his teeth in pain and frowns. Looking like a madman, Zhu Ji shouts to stop and not touch his sister. A green ball flies at him, throwing him far away. A girl has arrived who is a priest. She confidently extends her hand and asks him to come to her. The girl stands opposite the dragon and holds a weapon in her hand. She hits them hard. Her staff leaves a trail of marks behind it. The girl confidently begins to fight. She looks at the dragon, whose mouth and body are bound by the same mark from the staff. There is a green circle visible in her wide open eye. She strikes with her weapon. Zhu Yun's head lights up with a green glow. Tired Zhu Yi assumes that everything is over. The priest stands opposite the guy. Her staff forms circles around itself. The girl calls the name Zhu Yi, saying that she has heard about him. With a smile on her face, She reveals that her name is Lana, and she is a level 35 priest from Konjun City. Zhu replies that he is pleased to meet you. Lana explains that Tao Jia asked her to come early and take care of Zhu Yi's sister. The girl thinks that if Tao Jia had not said that the guy had a chance to take first place in the exam, she would not have broken the rules. Lana concludes that the director did not lie to her, because Zhu Yi was able to withstand the cold for so long. The guy anxiously asks the priest about what his sister is sick with and whether this disease is curable. Lana explains that the cold leaves the body and takes shape, which is a sign of the awakening of the blood. Zhu Yi asks again in fear. When Eternity appeared, many players chose representatives of other races as their characters, such as elves, Velika, demons, and others. Representatives of other races jump on hot stones, use magic, and run around the city. When the game merged with the city, players received the traits of these races. People with elven blood have green eyes and long ears. People with the blood of giants can grow to a height of up to 3, sometimes 4 meters. A guy puts an engagement ring on a girl with pink hair and cat ears. Over the past 200 years, these players have married humans, and after their blood has been diluted over many generations, they have gradually lost these traits and powers. However, the exception is the awakening of the blood. The priest stands with his back to Zhu Yon lying on the bed and says that awakening the blood can bring both good luck and misfortune. Lina seriously explains that successful awakening means that people will be able to control the power of other races and their level and learning ability will increase. But if they fail, they will either be paralyzed or die on the spot. The girl says that Zhu Yun suffered from the cold because her body was too weak to withstand the power of the blood. Lina suggests that Zhu Yi's sister awakened the rare ice bloodline. The priest reveals that Zhu Yun must change her physique if she wants to continue this bloodline. A green light emanates from the tip of Lina's staff as she sits down on the bed. The priest says that only a treasure known as the Ice Lotus can change a person's physique. Lina adds that this thing is very rare, and the last time it appeared at auction was 30 years ago, and was bought by an anonymous person for 3,100,000,000. A glowing blue circle forms in front of the girl. She reports that in 3 months, the cold in Zhu Yun's body will come into full force, and she will not be able to suppress it. The priest explains that there is also another way, which is to use the sealing technique and seal the power of the blood. Lina asks Zhu Yi to contact her when he makes a decision. A guy sits in a hospital and looks at his phone. He thinks that then his sister will be able to improve her level in the future. 5 days later, after taking off his t-shirt, Zhu Yi is training. He performs a daily challenge that consists of 200 push-ups, deep squats, weapon strikes, and sit-ups. After this, Zhu Yi is asked to choose a reward. The guy looks at 2 girls standing nearby, wipes his face, and drinks water. Zhu Yi chooses stat points as a reward. Most often, he chooses this as a reward for a daily task. Physical characteristics and intelligence are important for a paladin, but Zhu Yi cannot neglect other characteristics. The guy uses the 2-3-3-2 method to distribute his points across 4 stats, because only with balanced development can he reduce the number of vulnerabilities. The sign says that the exam results have been announced, and Zhu Yi has the first place in the exam in Suhan County. Awards will be given out according to the results. The surprised guy gets the item Resurrection Cross, the skill Hand of God, the skills Divine Spirit, Attack of Light, as well as 30 stat points, 30 skill points. A woman on the news announces that a student from Lijiang City won first place. The newspaper also writes that the top one was only level 10 when he entered the location. During the awakening ceremony of his class, a divine phenomenon occurred, making it clear who belonged to the first place. Topping the news is an article with the headline, "The True Class of a Champion." Jia Tao was surrounded by journalists. The man calmly says that he knew Zhu Yi would succeed when he awakened the Paladin class. Jia Tao explains that it was for this reason that he proposed to Zhu Yi, because he has an eye for such things. People sitting in the cafe are also discussing what is happening. They are surprised that the Paladin, which is a support class, took first place. Some people assume that it will take a Paladin a very long time to clear a location alone. The guys don't understand how Zhu Yi was able to go solo on terrible difficulty, being at level 10. The girl shows the guys a video with evidence. The guys open their mouths in surprise. The guys watch how Zhu Yi fought the monsters. One of the guys notes that Zhu Yi has a lot of buffs, and the Holy Cross is stronger than the fire magic of a high-level wizard. In a spacious modern room, a man in a red suit with long red hair is sitting on a sofa. He is watching a recording of Zhu Yi fighting monsters on TV, and a robot is standing next to him. The guy with red hair displeasedly notes that Zhu Yi cleared in 9 minutes and 24 seconds, which is 20 seconds faster than him. Smirking evilly, the guy says that Zhu Yi is an interesting character. A flame appears near the guy. He is angry that Zhu Yi dared to steal his glory. A big explosion occurs near the guy. He, grinning, concludes that Zhu Yi is tired of living. Zhu Yi walks down the street with tables hanging in the air in front of him. He looks at the phone screen, which has received 2 messages. The first says that the Lijiang City Administration transferred 5 million to his account, and the second reports that she transferred 2 million to him. Zhu Yi is surprised. He talks to Wen Bin on the phone. The guy asks him what's the matter. He replies that after such a brilliant performance in the exam, the administration will reward him with 5 million in cash and a luxurious mansion. Wen Bin asks if Zhu Yi has a preferred area for the mansion. The mayor's secretary also offers an option in which they choose it themselves. Zhu Yi thinks about it. The guy concludes that they have already reached the news that he took first place. Zhu Yi replies that he will let them make their own choice. Wen Bin agrees. He reports that he has heard that people recruiting students from the top 3 universities are on their way. The man asks Zhu Yi if he can give him a ride. He, calmly looking forward, replies that there is no need to do this, because people are already here. A nice man in a white shirt shows Zhu Yi his ID. He greets the guy and explains that he is a recruiter from Rongyang University. Zhu Yi asks again in surprise. The guy and the recruiter suddenly turn their heads to the side. A voice is heard saying that Zhu Yi was considered too arrogant by Rongyang University. This is said by a man coming down the stairs from a helicopter. He recalls that he was reprimanded for this. The man asks why the representative from Jingnyang University is here again. He fearfully advises the man to watch his words, because Tian Fu could not discern Zhu Yi's potential and was fired from the university. A recruiter approaches Zhu Yi about joining them, and Rongyang University offers 4 million. The man who comes down from the helicopter declares that no matter how much Rongyang University offers, Madu will give twice as much. He confidently says that Madu University will be taken away by Zhu Yi. The recruiter of Rongyang University is angry because of such statements. Suddenly, a girl with pink hair appears near Zhu Yi. The guy turns at her in surprise. The girl confidently says that she will take him. She grabs the guy from behind and flies up thanks to her large white wings. Evil representatives of other universities remain on Earth. The girl whispers in Zhu Yi's ear the words that no one except Qingjing University has so many resources for cultivation. She promises that for 4 years, the guy will receive a rank cultivation resources from them every year. Suddenly, they hit a blue magic circle. It was created by a girl with black hair. She states that Suhan University can provide everything that Qingjing University has offered. The girl says that there is no point in kidnapping. University representative Madu agrees, noting that she can take him, but cannot force him to choose them. The man exclaims that Madu University will provide a rank cultivation resources and a full set of gold rank equipment every year. Representative Qingjing is angry with him. The girl puts Zhu Yi on the ground. She folds her hands in front of her chest and explains that she is not kidnapping him, but just wanted to talk in private. The girl with black hair reveals that she is a recruiter for Suhan University and her name is Mei Er. She explains that their university believes that strength is everything, and if Zhu Yi can break into the top students within the university, then he will have access to even S-rank resources. And Suhan University has repeatedly ranked first in competitions between freshmen in the university over the past 4 years, indicating that the university's ability to educate students is one of the best. Representatives from all 3 universities stand nearby. A representative from Qingjing University angrily exclaims that Su Mei has become arrogant after just winning a few competitions. She replies that she should reject the fact that Suhan won, and Qingjing University should make sure that students and teachers work harder. Zhu Yi thinks that the conditions of all 3 universities are quite similar. Any of them can provide him with a brilliant future. The guy is thinking about which university he should choose to become stronger. University representatives turn to the guy in fear. He states that he has made a choice. Su Mei looks at Zhu Yi with warmth because he chose Suhan University. She gives him paper and a brush that emit fiery light. She explains that this is Suhan's special contract to recruit students. The girl tells Zhu Yi to look and sign if there are no questions. The man from Madu University sadly notes that Suhan has been bypassed again. The Qingjing representative says that they are always ready to accept Juyi if he does not get used to Suhan. A paper and a brush are placed in front of the surprised Juyi, and Sume displeasedly turns to the others, insulting them. Juyi notes that casting a spell without a staff is a skill that only high-level magicians can master. Holding a brush in his hand, the guy timidly asks Sume a question. He is interested in what level she is. The girl replies that she is a magician of the 42nd level. Juyi notes that she looks 30 years old. She explains that when the guy ends up in Suhana, he will see even more young, strong people. Juyi happily signs the contract. The guy thinks that after receiving the system, there is no one who could compete with him among his peers, but once he is in Suhan, he will definitely be able to face many opponents and become stronger faster. Sume notes that she can feel his burning desire to fight. A magical golden circle appears. It is formed above the contract, notifying that the contract has been concluded. Juyi looks at this in surprise. Sume smiles. She tells him that she will give him a week to pick up his things, and after this time she will take him to the university. The surprised guy realizes that the school year in Suhana begins very early. Sume puts her finger to her lips and says that this is true, because special students should receive the highest level of training as early as possible, so their strength will increase faster, and only then will they achieve the best results in the freshman competition. Juyi, Wenbin and Lana, who is carrying Zhu Yun in a wheelchair, head towards the mansion. Entering the room, Zhu Yun joyfully exclaims that the room is huge. The girl tells King that this is the latest model of nano-robot escort. Zhu Yi and Wen Bin look at what is happening with a smile. The mayor's secretary explains that this is a mansion donated to Zhu Yi by the administration. It has 3 floors in total. The second has a specialized gym. The third has a large balcony and seating area, and the total area reaches almost 1,000 square meters. When Bin is about to leave, Zhu Yi turns to look at him. When Bin says that he will not bother the guy anymore and advises him to rest. However, the guy stops him, explaining that he would like to ask him for something. Juyi stands next to Wen Bin, and King stands next to Zhu Yun as she happily studies the robot. Juyi explains that his sister has not yet fully recovered and her body is still weak. The guy asks Wen Bin to look after Zhu Yun instead of him for a while, even though King remains with her. The man humbly replies that it is an honor for him. Sume arrives at the mansion and looks through the car window at Juyi and the others. The girl sees Juyi squatting down to be on the same level as her sister and asks her to call if there is any problem. The guy reminds Zhu Yun that she needs to take pills from the priest every week, and Sister King will check her body every day, and after a few days, Wen Bin will arrange for her to go to school. The sister defiantly covers her ears and makes sounds as if she doesn't hear Juyi. The guy displeasedly pulls Zhu Yun's cheek. He says he heard his sister. The guy gets into the back seat of Sume's car. Juyi turns around and looks out the back window at King, Zhu Yun, and Wen Bin. Sume wonders if this is the first time Juyi has traveled so far. He answers positively. Surprise is visible on the guy's face. Sume informs him that he should prepare himself since this is his first time going so far. Juyi looks at what is happening questioningly. The car rises up and is enveloped in blue light. The car flies towards the blue magic circle. He goes through it. Thanks to teleportation, the guys end up in the city of Anning, in a college town in which many cars drive out of these blue magic circles. And on the ground, people walk quietly and other cars drive. Sume's yellow car drives quickly through the air. Juyi covers his face with his hand because of the bright light. He reminds them that they have a lot of time and wonders why they use teleportation magic. Juyi thinks that large universities are usually under the control of the military, and Priest Kui needs to send a request to the city administration to use a miniature teleporter. Sume and Juyi get out of the car. The girl explains that Suhan University cooperates with the military, so they built a large-scale teleportation system near the university, because it is safe and convenient. Sume reports that they have arrived. The guy's surprised eyes stop at something. He looks at Sukan University, behind which mountains, forests, and houses can be seen. Many people and representatives of other races are walking towards the university, and a car is also approaching. To get into the building, you need to climb a long staircase. Juyi exclaims that this is simply absurd. Sume confidently walks towards the university, and Juyi looks around in surprise. The girl says that we need to go, because Juyi needs to register. Suddenly, a violet beam passes near the guy. He sees a man flying upside down, leaving behind such violet rays. A beautiful girl with long gray hair, yellow eyes, and a sword behind her back stands with her leg raised, with which she pushed the man. The girl looks forward angrily. Her eyes begin to glow purple. The girl irritably reminds the man that she said she didn't want to talk to him. She calmly leaves, while people around her look after her in surprise. The girl tells the man that this was the last warning, and if he pesters her again, he will not get off so easily. He lies upside down, and there is dust around him. People look at the situation, noting that Zhang attacked the wrong one, because every semester he tries to seduce freshmen, but fortunately, he finally got what he deserved. Zhuyi looks at this in amazement. He thinks that this girl is a descendant of the demonic race. With her arms crossed, Sume explains that many of the students and teachers are descendants of different races. The girl asks Zhuyi not to be too surprised when he meets them in the future. The guy looks at Sume and says not to worry, because even if they are representatives of other races, as long as they are on the side of humanity, he will not be hostile towards them. Zhuyi explains that he would not be angry with the demon race because of his father's death. Sume extends one hand forward, and a flame appears above her, with a card visible inside. Zhuyi raises his eyebrows in surprise. The girl says that this is his student ID. He takes the ID in his hand and examines it. He notes that there is information such as ratings and scores. Sume and Zhuyi walk towards the university like other students. The girl says that she will now explain how everything works. She says that Zhuyi took first place in the ranking, becoming the strongest student this year. However, this is temporary, because in a month there will be a freshman competition, and then his place will be changed according to the results. Sume looks at Zhuyi seriously. She says that from today, the guy will become the #1 target, and everyone will try to take his place. Zhuyi, smiling, looks at Sume, and determination and confidence can be read in his gaze. The guy says that since he is already in first place, he is not going to give it to anyone. Sume smiles calmly and continues the story. The girl is going to talk about the point rating system. The flame frames 5 objects, such as a bottle of potion, a sword, a card, food, and a book. Sume explains that first-year students receive points according to their ranking, and these can be used to buy food, equipment, potions, books, skills, and the like. The girl says that with enough points, he can get anything he wants, including S-rank skills and resources. Sume reveals that besides the ranking, there are 2 ways to get points. In the background, a person emitting red light and a person emitting blue light are standing with their backs to each other. In the foreground is a scroll, which is the world ranking, as well as a cup and certificates. Sume says that the first way is assignments, and you can use your ID to access the board and check for available assignments, and if you complete them, you get points. The girl says that the second way is the world ranking, because students receive a certain number of points every month depending on their place. Sume looks at Zhuyi seriously and explains that there are 5,000 students in Suhan, and many want to be ranked in the world, so there is no need to be arrogant. He replies that he understood. Students enter another room. Sume and Zhuyi stand at the top, watching as people approach the portal, with large torches hanging on either side and a blue light emanating from within. Sume explains that there are also 3 locations here. The first is the Goblin Dungeon, designed for levels from 17 to 21. The second location looks creepy and dark. There are many crooked trees with red eyes and mouths glowing on their trunks. Sume says that the second location is a distorted forest, which is designed for levels from 23 to 26. In the third location, there are volcanoes. The sky is painted red, and everything around is blazing with fire, and there are also large chains stretched around. The girl reports that the third location is Purgatory, which is designed for levels from 28 to 31. There are rings in the room where battles take place. Sume explains that, in addition to the appropriate level, you need to spend a certain number of points to get to the location. The girl says that you can use the training room to increase your level, and the enemy can be both robots and real people. Zhuyi turns his head and looks at the 2 students who are choosing something. The guy watches 2 students fight each other. Sume reports that the strongest has absolute power and the most resources. The girl says this is Suhan's way of survival. Zhuyi looks forward resolutely. He happily realizes what he likes. A guy with glasses accompanying a group of students greets Sume. She thanks him for his hard work. The group of guys and Sume and Zhuyi go in different directions. The students look back at them. One girl wonders who it is. She notes that the teacher personally accompanies him. Another girl agrees, saying that they were divided into groups of 10 and were accompanied by an older student. Someone assumes that the guy is here through connections. A blonde man in a green jacket, whose name is Wang Lai, explains the situation to the guys looking in surprise. He says that students from the special intake are assigned a teacher who will handle their admission. Wang Lai explains that, firstly, this is done to quickly introduce such children to the university, and secondly, to make it easier to lure them to their university. The expression on the face of the girl with gray hair, who earlier put the arrogant man in his place, becomes surprised. Someone exclaims that this guy is top one. Another student asks to tell them who this person is. Juyi looks at the robot standing in front of him. Someone explains to the guys that this guy's name is Juyi. He is the first in the ranking of Suhan County and a 13th level Paladin. All the freshmen open their mouths in surprise. They ask again. Someone notes that this is impossible because the Paladin is a support class. Wang Lai stands near the other freshmen. Someone says that they heard that in second place was Lin Feng, a level 14 berserker. He wonders how the Paladin surpassed the berserker. The student notes that Juyi is handsome enough to become a celebrity. Wang Lai asks what this means. He exclaims that he is known as knowing everything and everyone. A girl with gray hair looks forward thoughtfully. She thinks about how Juyi is ranked first among the freshmen. The guy with red eyes glances sideways in her direction. He clenches his teeth and suddenly starts screaming. Other students look at their classmate in alarm. The guy exclaims that he thinks Juyi's first place ranking is a lie. Hearing this, Juyi turns to look at the guy. He crosses his arms over his chest and looks defiantly at Juyi. The guy smiles angrily and points his finger at Juyi. He says that his name is Liu Jing, and he is a 13th level knight. Liu Jing reports that he took 38th place. The guy mockingly says that he doubts that Juyi is strong enough to take first place. Liu Jing declares that he is challenging him. The senior student who accompanies the boys puts his hand on Liu Jing's shoulder. He seriously tells the student that duels are his personal business and asks him not to waste other people's time. The senior student thinks that the guy's behavior is ruining everything because he will receive 1 point for accompanying the freshman. Liu Jing raises his hand with his back to the senior student. He is angry at what is happening. Liu Jing tells the elder not to worry because he understood everything. The senior student thinks that the guy is stupid because the top one was unanimously determined by the rector and 5 teachers, and the possibility of error is excluded. One of the students comments that this seems like a sight worth seeing before leaving. The rest are keenly watching what will happen next. Someone suggests that Liu Jing lives to use the best student to rise in the rankings himself. Another student notes that the Paladin is not the strongest class, so it is not strange that Liu Jing wants to move him up in the rankings. Juyi stands opposite Liu Jing with his arms crossed in front of his chest. The guy calmly asks why he should answer his call. Liu Jing replies that he will get 100 points if he wins, and if he loses, he won't have to give anything away. Liu Jing, with enthusiastic freshmen standing behind him, looks at the guy mockingly. He calmly and confidently looks into Liu Jing's eyes. He thinks that for the sake of his future, he must accept this challenge, but if he wants to teach them a lesson, then he needs to raise the stakes. Juyi decides that only then will they remember. Sume looks at the guy in surprise. He ups the ante with 300 points. Juyi, his eyes burning, looks at Liu Jing defiantly. The guy says that only then will he fight him. Liu Jing, who clearly did not expect this, changes his face, becoming frightened and alarmed. The students look at each other and discuss the situation. Someone reports that they are in 40th place and have only 400 points. This student concludes that Liu Jing has about the same amount. The freshmen understand that the guy will lose too much if he loses. Some of them note that Liu Jing decided to show off at the beginning of the semester and is probably as stupid as they are in the books. A girl with gray hair looks forward seriously, clenching her hand into a fist in front of her chest. Liu Jing doesn't know what to do and looks at her classmates. He furrows his brows and clenches his teeth, looking angrily at Juyi. He begins to walk away, and an irritated Liu Jing points his finger at the guy. Juyi calmly announces that he is leaving since Liu Jing does not have the courage. Liu Jing angrily exclaims that he gives 300 points, and they go to the ring. Smirking, Juyi turns his head and looks at Liu Jing. The guy notes that after all, he is not so weak. Juyi adds that they don't need a ring. Flames appear around the guy. He smiles and places the palm of one hand on the wrist of the other. Juyi says that he will lose if Liu Jing does not fall to his knees after 3 attacks. Juyi and Liu Jing stand opposite each other, with Sume between them. Other students stand separately. Sume informs them that they can start fighting when she counts to 1. The girl exclaims that under no circumstances should lethal techniques be used. She calls the number 3. Liu Jing looks at Zhu Yi angrily. Sume says the number 2. Zhu Yi looks at his opponent sternly. Finally, the girl puts on number 1. Liu Jing takes off and runs towards Zhu Yi, holding a red weapon that resembles a hammer in his hand. He thinks that both his Retribution Knight class and Zhu Yi's Paladin class are hidden branches of the Knight class. Liu Jing concentrates. He understands that he excels at dealing damage, and the Paladin is strong at support. The guy decides that he will defeat him if he attacks quickly, before Zhu Yi has time to use buffs. Liu Jing looks at her classmate with gray hair. In his eyes, she is as beautiful as an angel. The guy decides that she will pay attention to him if he wins. Liu Jing jumps high, swinging his weapon and leaving a red flash behind him. Zhu Yi calmly looks at the enemy. He exclaims that he uses a bloody blow. Angrily throwing a punch, the guy exclaims that he lost. However, Zhu Yi simply looks at it with displeasure. Suddenly, Liu Jing is thrown back. This was due to a strong blow from Zhu Yi, who used his leg. Liu Jing flies backwards at high speed, hitting the wall hard. He sits on his knees, bleeding. Zhu Yi looks at Liu Jing with displeasure. He says it was boring. Zhu Yi thought that the guy had some hidden advantages. However, it turned out that he was not able to withstand even one blow. The senior student approaches Liu Jing, sits down on his knee, and puts his hand on the guy's shoulder. The students look on silently. The senior student approaches Su Mei, who is holding her ID cards, and, adjusting her glasses, tells her the information. The guy says that Liu Jing has 5 broken ribs, as well as internal bleeding, and has lost consciousness. The girl tells the priest to heal Liu Jing. Su Mei hands the ID to Zhu Yi, who looks at it in confusion and scratches the back of his head. The girl reports that 300 points were transferred to his ID. The girl with gray hair looks at Zhu Yi in amazement, and the students are actively talking. Someone notes that the Retribution Knight's attack combined with a bloody strike is difficult to block, but Zhu Yi managed to deflect it with a single kick. One of the freshmen says that it is now clear what the power of the top one is, and he is on a completely different level. The girl with gray hair thinks that the difference in strength between Zhu Yi and Liu Jing is at least 20 points. She resolutely begins to move forward. The surprised looks of all the students are directed at her. The girl calls Zhu Yi. He turns around and looks at her. The girl asks Zhu Yi to fight her. A blue circle appears before the guy's eyes. He analyzes the girl. Zhu Yi thinks that when he first saw her, he immediately realized that she was not just a descendant of demon blood. She had inherited special equipment. The guy realizes that he is seeing this for the first time and wants to test it. He looks at the girl standing in front of him. Now, having assessed her, Zhu Yi knows that her weapon is the ancient sword of the Dark Moon. The rank is inherited, her race is human, and her class is a swordsman. Zhu Yi briefly accepts the challenge. The guys stand opposite each other in the ring, and there is a robot in the air. Students stand nearby, watching. Zhu Yi holds a large hammer in his hand, around which a fiery light can be seen. The guy's weapon is a mystical type warhammer. The guy's rank is gold. The characteristics are physical attributes plus 18 and intelligence plus 24. The effect is that the level of all skills with light element below B rank increases by 1, and the source is the system lottery. The red-haired freshman boldly hugs the senior, who looks down timidly. The rest of the students are standing nearby. A man with blonde hair tied up approaches Su Mei. This is Dong Xiang, who is one of the captains of the Aurora Club and a level 29th marksman. The man wonders why Su Mei is here. The girl replies that the freshmen have no sooner enrolled than they are already eager to fight and have fun. The robot counts to 1 and announces that you can start. The girl flies toward Zhu Yi, emitting purple light. She uses a shadow strike that slashes at the speed of light. Zhu Yi swings his hammer, emitting fiery light. The guy uses a storm hammer, which deals huge damage and knocks the enemy back if he swings it with all his might. Blue and fiery light touch. Zhu Yi and the girl are standing opposite each other. The girl with a stern look puts out a sword in front of her. She thinks that the guy has great strength. The swordswoman uses a demonic strike that coats the weapon with dark elemental energy and delivers a powerful blow. A gambling smile appears on Zhu Yi's face. He runs towards the girl with a mad look, holding a hammer in his hand. The guy exclaims joyfully that he finally has a worthy opponent. The girl looks at him seriously. Zhu Yi yells at her to attack. She jumps up and attacks the guy. An uppercut occurs, which strikes upward and can throw the opponent into the air. It then uses an improved fast strike, which adds another slam attack to the attack. A shockwave is then released when using a powerful uppercut, causing multiple hits and knocking the opponent away. After all this, a crushing blow is used, which deals several blows to the ground, and the final blow can knock the opponent down. Impacts occur and fiery and purple flashes are seen in space. Zhu Yi, who is holding a hammer, and a girl with gray hair, who is holding a sword, stand opposite each other. Their weapons touch and oppose each other. Around Zhu Yi, the space is filled with fiery light, and around the girl with purple, and ahead of the guys are stripes of these colors. Everyone is watching what is happening. The blows are thrown, however, they do not hit the enemy and hit the sphere. Standing in front are Su Mei and Dong Shen, who look at the battle calmly and intently. And behind them are students who are watching, their mouths open in amazement. The bespectacled senior can't believe this is a fight between two students. Du Sheng watches the fight carefully, and the senior student looks at the man in surprise. Du Sheng thoughtfully notes that without hidden advantages, the swordswoman will soon lose. The senior student is interested in why the man thinks this way. The guy says that it seems to him that they are not inferior to each other. The girl fights holding a sword in her hand. She uses a boost and a block that invites damage. Du Sheng explains that initially the swordswoman only needed to block one blow out of 3, but now she has to parry each one. The man says that those with heavy weapons usually fight defensively, retreating and counterattacking, and don't swing their weapons too much to maintain their stamina. Zhu Yi also fights diligently. Dong Sheng continues to explain that when their opponent opens up, they immediately attack, and yet, Zhu Yi did not even try to conserve his strength, so he is either stupid or completely confident. Zhu Yi jumps up, swinging his hammer. Dong Sheng says that from the very beginning, the guy restricts the swordswoman's movements, forcing her to block the hammer. The man assumes that the paladin is very hot-tempered, since he decided to fight at full strength with such a beauty. The girl, with her head slightly lowered, holds the sword in her hands and confronts Zhu Yi. He reports that he has finished warming up. Flames can be seen around the guy. He uses God's gift. Zhu Yi's eyes are burning, as is the space around him. He walks forward with a stern look. Zhu Yi uses courage, weapon blessing, dawn blessing, and protection. In the ring, opposite the swordswoman, a huge fiery beam appears. She looks at it intensely. The girl thinks that Zhu Yi feels terrible pressure, and this is his true strength. The guy extends his hand forward. He uses the Spear of Victory. The girl concentrates, preparing to attack. The guys fight so hard that the ground beneath them is a little destroyed. The swordswoman uses a ghostly strike that quickly travels a certain distance and strikes the enemy. Zhu Yi calmly notes that he knew the girl was using it. She looks at him in surprise as the spear flies towards her eye. The girl is about to ask about when Zhu Yi realized this. The swordswoman sits on the ground. Many spears fly at her from all sides, and Zhu Yi stands above the girl, looking at her opponent and swinging her hammer. The girl bends her elbows and clenches her palms into fists. She closes her eyes and shrinks a little. The girl opens her eyes and raises her head, looking plaintively and sweetly at Zhu Yi. He asks her if she wants to continue. The girl looks at Zhu Yi, who towers over her. The swordswoman stands up and calmly answers in the negative. She explains that the result will be the same. The guy says she didn't fight as hard as she could. Zhu Yi realizes that the girl did not use her sword skills or dark element power in this fight. The swordswoman smiles and glows. She concludes that the guy understood. The girl explains that she will not use her advantage because this is just a friendly duel. The swordswoman raises her hand, in which she holds the phone. She notes that she saw the recording of the exam, and Zhu Yi also did not fight at his full strength in this battle. The swordswoman asks to add her, and somehow they will fight again. Zhu Yi's face shows a little surprise. The girl is watching something on the screen. Su Mei and Zhu Yi leave. The guy asks her to go. The girl agrees and thinks that Zhu Yi not only earned 600 points on his first day at the university, but also made other students fear him. Su Mei realizes that this year is going to be interesting. Plants grow in the mountains and houses can be seen. These are dormitories. Su Mei explains that the freshman dormitory is located on Small Mountain, where the building for ordinary students is at the foot and on the slope of the mountain, and at the top is the dormitory for priority admission students. She notes that the dormitories for such freshmen are also separate mansions. Depending on the rank of the student, he is provided with various luxuries and equipment. Su Mei and Ju Yi arrive at the dorm doors. The girl says that he will live here. Ju Yi uses his ID to enter. Su Mei stands behind him. The guy's face changes from anxiety and surprise. Su Mei says she heard that he was looking for the Ice Lotus. The girl is standing on the stairs, and the guy is on an ordinary surface. Su Mei reveals that there is a group that saw the Ice Lotus in the Stormwind Mountains, but they refused to take it because it was guarded by high-level monsters. The girl says that this information is 6 years old, so she cannot guarantee its relevance. There are a large number of monitors in front of Ju Yi, his fingers doing something on the keyboard. He looks thoughtfully at the screen. The guy understands that the Stormwind City was formed after reality merged with the game. It is a fairly vast area containing various treasures of exotic flora and fauna. Even professionals do not dare to go there. The resurrection cross glows near the seated Ju Yi. The guy notes that with his current strength, he will only be able to escape if he faces a high-level monster. But after passing the exam, the system rewards him with resurrection if he dies. Ju Yi's hand is on the mouse. He decides that there is no point in hesitating, and that he should hit the road after purchasing some skills and equipment. Ju Yi looks at the screen, which shows search results such as Holy Light, Holy Strike, Holy Light Protection, Holy Light Shield, Holy Retribution, Enlightened Light, and Holy Wind of Healing. The guy's hand carefully moves the mouse. Ju Yi exclaims that he is buying immunity to physical damage. The guy presses his finger on the mouse button. Ju Yi notes that there is a skill here that can be used without weapons, and it looks reliable. The guy decides to buy it. Ju Yi also buys a skill that can be used from a distance. A white beam hits the keyboard. The guy looks at the monitor and joyfully exclaims that he got all this for free. Ju Yi scratches the back of his head in confusion. The guy thinks that he still needs to spend points to get the forest set that he was given as a reward for passing the exam. Ju Yi, wearing white clothes, comes to the storm forest. Everything there is dark and glows red. Suddenly, Ju Yi witnesses an explosion. He covers his face with his hand and walks forward, despite the strong wind. Ju Yi doesn't know what happened and decides to take a look. His white clothes are a dark set that the guy bought after spending a lot of points. The swordswoman lies in bed and looks anxiously at the phone screen. The girl hugs the pillow and presses her face into it. In correspondence with Ju Yi, she suggested going to the training room together. However, the guy refused her, explaining that he needed to go somewhere. After that, Chu Ran inquired about where he wanted to go. Ju Yi admitted that he would go to the Stormwind Mountains. In response, the girl only sent a question sticker. Suddenly, a notification arrives on the swordswoman's phone. She quickly turns to the phone and picks it up. Chu Ran starts talking on a video call with a girl with green hair, who is calmly filing her nails. The girl is interested in what's going on. She notes that Chu Ran sighs over her phone for the 23rd time. She replies that she met a special guy. A friend asks how special he is. Chu Ran closes his eyes in frustration and begins to talk. The girl says that yesterday she challenged him and used her charm during the fight, but it had no effect on him at all, and there was not even a hint that the guy had succumbed to him. The friend notes that his will must be incredibly strong. She hears Chu Ran humming thoughtfully, and then the girl begins to glow with happiness, and her friend, out of fear and surprise, cannot paint her nails. Chu Ran happily exclaims that he will also go to the Stormwind Mountains. A car is driving fast on the ground. She jumps up and drives straight towards the purple monster with yellow horns. There are several such monsters, and they angrily run into battle. At this time, a girl with yellow hair and ski goggles on her head throws red discs at the monsters. The girl's name is Zhu Zhao. Many of these discs fly at the monsters. They do not understand what it is and look at the objects in surprise. An explosion occurs. From a bright flash, one monster flies out with its mouth open in fear. The bespectacled girl, who is a summoner and goes by a name like Tianrun, reaches forward and creates what appears to be a glowing snowflake. The girl uses the spirit call, Ice. Ice flies out of a snowflake. The monster flies over the car, trying to escape from the blows. A fireball appears in front of him. Zhu Zhao seriously reports that something needs to be done at 9 o'clock. Fireballs fly out of the machine gun. This machine gun is held by a girl in a red cloak. She is the shooter Zhu Dan. A fireball passes through the monster's mouth. The girl continues to release balls from the machine. They fly at the monster, throwing it back. Zhu Dan alarmedly shouts for her partner to do something now. A beam of blue light flashes near the trees. This is the swordswoman King Lion, who fights using a sword that emits blue light. Zhu Zhao happily looks out the window. She exclaims that they did it. Tian Run creates ice armor in front of the window and shouts to move aside. King Lion leans back as an explosion occurs in front of her. The car is thrown back by a stream of fire, and pieces of ice fly on the sides. The car is crumpled, Zhu Dan is lying on the ground, and Zhu Zhao is sitting, leaning on his legs. Tian Run tries to crawl out from under the broken car, and Zhu Zhao stands up with his hand on his shoulder. King Lion fearfully asks her partners if they are okay. Tian Rong, eyes bulging in fear, shouts at her to turn around. The girls see huge scary monsters in front of them. These are demons that are one of the 5 races. They are extremely tough and love to feed on living things. The girls realize that they used all their trump cards and were able to kill only 4 demons. They look at a large fireball hanging in the air. One of the demons opens its mouth and releases a huge amount of fire. The girls fearfully wonder if they will really meet their end here. Suddenly, Zhu Yi, sitting on a white beast, approaches them. The guy looks forward seriously. He uses Holy Storm. There is a huge golden flash, the shape of which is a cross. The monsters look at this in surprise. The fire swirls and resembles a hurricane. The demons inside this fire open their mouths and roar. Zhu Yi concentrates. Bright light rays emerge from his forehead. He says the light is concentrating. A storm is coming. The demons are enveloped in fire. A glowing sword rushes towards them. It pierces the ground. Zhu Yi sits calmly on the white beast. He puts his hand to its fur. The beast angrily opens its mouth, from which ice emanates. Thus, he puts out the fire that has filled everything near the guys. Zhu Yi stands on the cooled ground opposite the girls, who look at the guy with surprise and fear. Everything around is painted red, and you can also see scary silhouettes of trees. Zhu Yi stretches his hand forward and begins to emit golden light. He uses slow regeneration. The guy stands opposite the injured girls, who are now sitting in a light healing circle. Zhu Zhao looks at Zhu Yi seriously, and King Lion, holding Tian Rong in her arms, looks up at the guy and thanks him, noting that she did not expect Zhu Yi to know them. The guy replies that the Blue Phoenix team is in the top 3 from the university. Zhu Yi says that he simply cannot help but know about them. King Lion smiles and closes her eyes. The girl admits that this makes her even more ashamed. She now looks at Zhu Ju seriously, reporting that although his light has a suppressive effect on the demons, they are still too dangerous. King Lion suggests returning to base. Zhu Yi looks down and thinks that he has been exploring the outer regions for a month, but has not found any traces of the Ice Lotus. The guy understands that the freshman competition will take place in 3 days, and he will be able to continue searching for the Lotus only after them. Zhu Yi makes a decision and looks at the girl. He agrees with her proposal. King Lion turns to look at Zhu Zhao, who is staring intently. The summoner crosses her arms and closes her eyes, and 2 small robots appear near her. She spreads her arms out to the sides and emits blue light. And under her feet there is a blue magic circle. Zhu Zhao used Metal Roar, Spirit of Speed, Phantom Rumble, and Giant Mechanical Spider. A huge metal spider appears in front of the guys. The girl exclaims that a recreation is taking place. Zhu Yi and his beast look on in admiration. Zhu Zhao approaches the spider and beckons the others with his hand. The girl tells everyone to get in, because there is little time left. King Lion thinks that Zhu Zhao is showing off. A metal spider walks through the forest. One of the girls wonders if there are demons in the Stormwind Mountains. King Lion seriously tells Zhu Yi that their team has been coming here for more than 2 months, but today is the first time they have encountered them. The guy notes that usually either demons come from the very depths of the mountains, or there is an interdimensional crack nearby from which they appeared. The girl agrees and says that they must return to the base and notify the military. Zhu Yi looks at King Lion worriedly. He suggests that there are magical towers in the military zone that control the entire area. In the red sky you can see a tower, from which yellow rays emanate, and below there are tents. They explain to him that there are many monsters in these mountains. Therefore, in order to prevent them from escaping and attacking peaceful cities, and at the entrance to the zone there is a supply and trade base built by the military. And the magic tower is protected by an army that constantly monitors the movements of monsters in the mountains. King Lion sits and looks down. She says that there is such a tower here, but the level of the demons is too low. Zhu Yi looks forward seriously. He asks again about the low level of demons. The guy understands that 20-level silver rank demons cannot be called too weak. Bloodthirsty monsters sit on a black background. One of them is epic, and the second is legendary. King Lion says that the Magic Tower mainly monitors the epic and legendary level monsters in the depths of the Stormwind Mountains. The girl looks at Zhu Yi seriously and shows a cross with her hands. She explains that if a monster's level is below the Magic Tower's minimum threshold, she may not be able to detect it. Zhu Yi replies that he understands. King Lion looks down thoughtfully. She wonders if there really is an interdimensional rift here. Why do they send low-level demons here? A metal spider walks on red earth. King Lion thinks that they will be immediately destroyed if they are discovered by the military, and from the interspatial crack that lets in demons of the 30th level, demons of the 50th level, or even higher may also come out. The girls look down upset. King Lion realizes that this will not only lead to their deaths, but will also reveal the location of the crack. She realizes that, no matter what, it's not something they need to think about right now. The girl decides to pass on all the information to the military when they return. The demons go in one direction, wanting food. A blow occurs. A cry is heard that announces that he has found food. The guys see a certain explosion in the distance, from which a purple beam rushes upward, creating circles around itself. Zhu Yi looks at what is happening seriously. The guy seems to recognize this aura. The girl exclaims that there is someone there who is surrounded by demons. Zhu Yi, sitting on the beast, turns to the girls. King Lion looks at him in fear. The guy tells them to go first, explaining that he will catch up. The beast's paw takes off from its place. King Lion shouts that they have no idea how many demons there are, and it could be very dangerous. However, the beast, with a confident Zhu Yi sitting on its back, runs away. King Lion continues to call the guy. Zhu Yi glows and a paladin outfit appears on him. He thinks that he knows this aura. The guy looks ahead sternly. He wonders why she is here. 6 guys are sitting in a circle in a clearing. Someone points out that this girl won't last long since there are almost 20 silver rank demons here. The guys are wondering if they should help her. Someone suggests not to do this because they are trapped here and cannot even protect themselves. The guys turn around in alarm, looking into the depths of the forest. One of them says that if the girl manages to escape from the demons, given her strength, she may become famous in the future. The guys decide that this is a loss. Chu Ran fights the demons while there is dust all around. The girl emits purple light and attacks. She confidently resists monsters. Chu Ran's eyes glow red, and the girl herself is tense and clenches her teeth. She thinks that the demons seem to have realized that her skill has a time limit, and they are surrounding her and not specifically attacking her so that her powers are depleted. The demons run straight towards Chu Ran. They surround the girl who is trying to deal with them. Chu Ran understands that these demons move in groups of 10 monsters, and even if she killed 8 demons, they are replenishing their ranks too quickly. The girl comes to the conclusion that she has no chance of escaping to the base. The demon glares at Chu Ran, its multiple eyes emitting purple light. The girl thinks that she needs to break through before her succubus power disappears. Chu Ran looks at his opponent from under his brows. She uses Thunderclap. Everything around is illuminated with fiery light. Yellow circles appear in space. Yellow light passes through the demon. The girl looks at how the space in front of her turns into a solid yellow light that passes through the monsters. The light disappears, and now there is yellow smoke around Chu Ran, and holes form in the ground. The girl, with horns growing from her forehead, looks at this in surprise. She turns her head and notices Zhu Yi and the beast he is sitting on. The animal quickly runs towards the girl. Zhu Yi extends his hand, which emits golden light, forward. Chu Ran calls out to him. He shouts for the girl to move aside. A completely purple demon emits light of the same color. He spreads his arms to the sides and growls. Chu Ran shrinks, closes his eyes, and covers his ears with his hands. The monster stands in front of the girl and burns with fire. The demon is now pink with a purple pattern. He has a berserker mode activated, a fiery body. The demon growls angrily. He, along with other demons, flies to Chu Ran. The girl looks at them defiantly, and behind her stands the beast, on which Zhu Yi is located. Chu Ran shouts to the guy to run away, because the demon has gone into berserk mode. Her attention turns to the demons. The girl thinks that the demon's strength has doubled, so Zhu Yi simply cannot defeat him. Chu Ran realizes that there is a 90% chance that he will be able to kill the demon and protect Zhu Yi if he self-destructs. The guy picks up Chu Ran in his arms. He sits her down with him. The demon in berserk mode punches the ground hard. Juyi puts his hand forward and emits golden light. The guy uses light punishment. Yellow clouds and many flashes of golden lightning appear in the sky. Holding Chu Ran in his arms, Juyi smiles confidently. The girl looks at him with admiration. Juyi says that it is no wonder that everyone wants a magic class, because killing monsters from a distance is fun. Demons are rushing towards the guys through yellow and purple circles. A large number of demons line up in a semicircle around the beast and Juyi and Chu Ran. The guys look at the monsters, assessing the situation. Juyi thinks that there are 180 demons here. The guy realizes that he can use his mass destruction skills to deal with them, but now they are scattered throughout the territory. Chu Ran anxiously concludes that they made too much noise, and demons from all over the plane came running here. Juyi puts 2 fingers emitting golden light to the frightened girl's forehead. He calmly asks her to distract the demons to the left and not try to fight them. Chu Ran looks at the guy seriously and waits patiently for him to finish. Juyi uses slow regeneration on the girl. I am the blessing of dawn, the blessing of weapons and God's gift. She is surprised to realize that these are Paladin buffs. Chu Ran looks at his stats, which have been greatly increased thanks to the buffs, and Juyi begins to get off the beast. The guy says we need to start. Juyi runs towards the demons, holding a hammer in his hand, and Chu Ran remains sitting on the beast. Red circles appear in front of the monsters. Juyi swings, and a yellow stripe forms in front of the monsters. The guy looks angrily at his opponents, continuing to fight. At the battle site, everything glows with fiery light. Chu Ran gets off the beast and stands nearby, looking forward. The girl is surprised that all her stats have been increased by 25%, which is almost like doubling her strength. Chu Ran watches the battle, and her face shows surprise and alarm. She thinks that, according to what she knows, no paladin of the 16th or even the 25th level is capable of doing something like that. A demon approaches the girl, breaking the ground beneath him with a blow of his hand. The beast rushes at the monster, biting it. The demon comes close to Chu Ran. Emitting purple light, she holds a sword in her hand and glares at her opponent. The girl decides that now she needs to fulfill Juyi's request. The guy fights with the demons, and they fly away. Juyi is in a fighting stance, ready to fight. Monsters are running towards him from behind. A weapon blade appears near the guy. However, suddenly, the sword falls from the demon's hand. Juyi turns to his opponent and looks at him calmly. He notices Chu Ran, who fulfills his request. She uses a shadow whip that deals heavy damage in addition to dark elemental damage if she concentrates demonic energy into her hand in the form of a whip and uses it to strike an opponent. Juyi thinks that people with the light element are really the best at attracting demons, and most of them have already come here. He looks ahead seriously and decides he can use it now. Juyi creates a fireball that flies forward. The guy calls Chu Jan. She turns around and looks at Juyi. The beast and the girl are in the yellow sphere that Juyi has just created. He used the protection of the sacred light. When used, the sphere of sacred light protects allies and grants immunity to physical damage, which lasts for a certain period time. Juyi tells the girl to stay inside the sphere. The guy puts his hand to his shoulder and a cross appears under it. Juyi uses the Holy Cross. A huge luminous cross can be seen in space. Everything around is filled with golden light, which causes damage to demons. If you summon holy light by creating a holy cross behind you, then all enemies within a certain range will receive holy fire damage. Juyi has the 7th level of the sacred cross, and its range is 200 meters. Chu Ran looks at what Juyi is doing with admiration. Her eyes sparkle, and her palms are clenched into fists and are at chest level. Huge demons are approaching Juyi. He looks sternly at his opponents. The guy notes that under the influence of the sacred light, any darkness will be defeated. He stands confidently in front of the monsters, and his cloak rises slightly. Juyi says that the light is concentrating. A storm is coming. The guy uses a holy storm, which causes a storm of holy light in a certain place and damages all enemies within a certain distance. The demons raise their heads up. They see crosses going down. The crosses land. A yellow storm rushes into the sky, emitting light. The demons look up in fear. The earth is destroyed by the impact of the storm. The guys are watching what is happening from the forest. Someone exclaims that this is crazy and asks who it is. Another one of the guys asks if he is human. Someone asks the boss if they should reveal themselves. He looks ahead anxiously. He thinks that he is level 26 and the others are level 24, and together they won't be able to defeat even 10 demons, let alone fight alone. The boss realizes that this guy is too intimidating, and he is also very young. He hesitantly tells the others to go. A creature with red hair and a guy in white clothes look at the boss in surprise. He decides that they should make friends with Zhu Yi. Suddenly, a huge metal spider appears in Zhu Dan, who waves her hand and holds a machine gun with her other hand. The girl exclaims that they have come to help Zhu Yi. The girls from the Blue Phoenix team look at something questioningly. Zhu Yi, Zhu Ran, and the Joyful Beast, which holds the demon's hand in its teeth, stand nearby. Around them, on the ground, lie dead demons. The guy opens a bottle of red potion. He receives a notification that he has received level 17, 15 stat points and 15 skill points. And then the information on the table notifies him of the same thing, only about the transition to the 18th level. Zhu Yi drinks the potion and the space around him fills with green. Not far away, Xu Jian is barely standing, leaning on her sword. Looking at the information on the table, Zhu Yi thinks that there were 180 demons, and he received 60 experience points. The guy regrets that the amount of experience that can be gained is limited by level, because otherwise he would have received more. Holding the bottle in his hand, Zhu Yi thinks that his mana level has increased significantly, and he also has many high-level skills, but even this is not enough. He decides that when he returns, he will ask the teachers what to do, because they must have a solution. The girls from the Blue Phoenix team head to Zhu Yi. King Lion walks ahead, who asks the guy if he has dealt with everyone. And Zhu Dan notes that Zhu Yi's strength is beyond imagination. The guy feels something and turns around, looking at Zhu Ran, who is sitting helplessly near the beast. The girls ask what's wrong with her. Zhu Ran sits with his eyes closed and looks sad and exhausted. Zhu Ji suggests that she used too much energy and exhausted her strength. King Lion looks at the guy seriously. She asks him if he has encountered strong demons. He thoughtfully replies that among the demons he killed, the highest level was a gold rank demon of level 23. King Lion is silent and looks sternly to the side. Zhu Yi wonders what's going on. The girl explains that the Demon Legion has a commander-in-chief, just like the human army, and if he is not here, then the main troops of the Demon Legion will not be here either. King Lion says they shouldn't stay here and should return to base immediately. The guy agrees. The guys, the metal spider and the beast carrying Chu Ran return to base. Some sounds are heard from behind the trees. A blonde guy in a hood tells the boss that the guys are leaving. He asks if they should go out now. He replies that it really can be done. Suddenly, 3 people hiding in the forest look ahead in shock. One of them asks the boss what it is. They note that this is a very powerful demonic aura. The boss looks at what is happening in fear. He exclaims that these are demons. Blue Phoenix and the others stop. A white dragon and a demon appear in front of them, the sight of which is terrifying. This monster is the spawn of a level 30th and legendary rank demon. And the white dragon is a level 24 fire-breathing dragon, gold rank, and has a skill such as flame explosion. Meanwhile, at the base, an inscription appears on the screen stating that the concentration of an alien aura exceeds the permissible values, and, after analysis, information appears that this is the 4th level of invasion. Information about the location of the incident also appears. The man shouts into the radio that he confirms the level 4 invasion and orders all troops to be on alert. The towers emit an alarming red light. People stand and wait for what will happen next. A loud voice announces that a level 4 invasion has been confirmed and all troops are to be put on alert. A man in equipment looks forward seriously. An order is received for the Knights of the Snow Dragon Corps to immediately finish training and gather near the teleportation site. The priests collect the glowing blue stones into bags. An order is received for a squad of priests from the Snow Dragon Corps to be ready to provide assistance and replenish mana. And the material and technical support detachment of the Snow Dragon Corps receives in order to begin redistributing magic cores and magic fragments. The magicians line up, holding staffs in their hands. A squad of mages from the Snow Dragon Corps is ordered to build a teleportation circle, and the coordinates are given. The knights also fall into line, and their commander stands opposite. The guy approaches the commander and puts his hand to his forehead, saluting. He reports to the commander of the Snow Dragon Corps, whose name is Yuju, that all units have arrived and are awaiting orders. He looks angrily at the knights and puts his sword forward. Yuju exclaims that he will be the sword that will break through the thorns, and will be the shield that will protect this land. His subordinates repeat this in unison. The commander says they are moving out. The demons are standing in front of the building. Each demon of the Legion is personally selected by him. In the last 6 months of his stay on Earth, he had lost no more than 10 demons, but before they could return to the sacred realm, something happened. The Commander-in-Chief demon looks terrifying. It turns out that before they could return to the sacred realm, hundreds of their soldiers were killed by people. The Commander-in-Chief says that there is half a day left before they return, and he will let the demons have their last fun. Joyful demons raise their hands and thank His Majesty for such a gift. The Commander-in-Chief will never forgive people. The dragon's paws touch the ground, breaking the ground. The dragon flies with its mouth open, and on top of it stands the Commander-in-Chief demon, holding a weapon in his hand. He exclaims that he will take their souls and burn them in the fires of hell. The guys are looking at this. Zhuyi is standing in front, and the others are standing a little further away. The red space is filled with black patterns. The demon spawn Ormas used the summoning skill. There are a huge number of demons crowding the earth. Silver and gold rank demons have been summoned. King Lion looks at this with alarm and assesses the situation. The girl sees a demon of the legendary rank, demon knights of the gold rank, demon mages of the silver rank. King Lion holds the sword in his hand and turns around a little. She tells Zhuyi that the Blue Phoenix team will protect him. King Lion asks him to wait for the right moment and run. The girls stand in front of him. Zhu Dan agrees with her friend, noting that Zhuyi should live. King Lion, looking ahead sternly, thinks that Zhuyi is the most powerful genius she has ever seen, and he is a member of the elite. Her eyes are filled with determination. The girl decides that he is worth risking their lives to protect him. A yellow circle resembling a funnel is visible in the red sky. From there, the legs appear. Chu Ran looks questioningly at the yellow magic circle. Zhu Dan and Tian Run look up happily. Zhu Dan exclaims that this is the Snow Dragon Corps. The girl explains that the soldiers of the Snow Dragon Corps are people who have reached the 30th level and have gone through their second awakening, and the commander of the 51st level has already gone through the third awakening. Zhu Dan shouts that they are saved. Frowning his brows, Zhuyi looks at the yellow circle, wondering why they are so far away if they can teleport. The Commander-in-Chief demon emerges from the magic circle. He laughs eerily and sarcastically tells the guys not to worry, because their army will not be able to get through his magical barrier. King Lion looks at the demon with surprise and fear. She exclaims that this is impossible. An army of people stands on yellow magic circles. The army commander wonders what's going on and why they deviated so far from the teleportation endpoint. The guy with red hair, putting his hand to the space, explains that this is a forbidden magic circle of demons, which is a wall of dark flame. The guy reveals that once the barrier is in place, it is impossible to teleport inside, and attacks from outside will also be blocked. The guy turns around. Dissatisfaction and wariness are visible in his face. He says that they will need at least the strength of 2 core to break through, otherwise they can only wait for it to begin. The commander standing nearby asks how long they will have to wait. The guy thoughtfully replies that the waiting time will be 5 minutes. Yuzhu looks down and thinks. He orders the guy with red hair to find information about the people who are inside. The commander orders him to contact their families as soon as the battle is over so they can retrieve the remains. The guy agrees. Zhuyi receives a notification that a demon of legendary rank has been detected. The guy has a task, which is to kill the spawn of a demon. There is no penalty for failure, and as a reward he will receive an S+ rank talent and an elixir of good luck. A gambling smile appears on Zhuyi's face. He enjoys new tasks. The guy begins to emit yellow light and walk forward. The girls call out to him excitedly. Zhuyi approaches the demon, who is standing on a dragon and holding a weapon in his hand. The demon notes that the guy has a very powerful holy aura, and assumes that he was the one who killed his soldiers. The demon commander declares that, as a sign of respect, he will crush Zhuyi with his own hands and allow him to die in endless torment. The dragon takes off and flies towards Zhuyi, while the demon stands confidently, emitting purple light. Zhuyi, with yellow light sparkling around him, looks sternly at his opponents. A blue glowing ball forms in the dragon's mouth. The monster shoots it at Zhuyi. King Lion sees this and calls out to the guy in alarm. He changes his appearance to his true form as a paladin, holds a hammer in his hand, and creates a line of light near him. The dragon releases purple energy, wanting to destroy Zhuyi. However, the guy resists with his yellow light. The flash of golden light is so strong that the dragon turns its face in the other direction. The monster begins to fall. He lands, breaking the ground beneath him. The demon rises, leaning on his leg, and Juyi runs next to him, swinging a hammer. The demon swings his weapon. With this blow, he cuts the ground in front of him. A flash of light appears in front of the demon's face. It is Juyi who strikes boldly. A huge beam of yellow light appears in front of the demon. He glows with a violet flame, and looks at Juyi with incomprehension. The demon does not understand how it is possible that a person of only the 18th level has the power to resist him. The Paladin temporarily releases his weapon. He stretches his fingers and calmly looks at his opponent. Juyi notes that the demon is strong, and also reports that he is the first legendary monster he encountered. The demon flies at him, putting forward his hand with a weapon. He is angry with Juyi's behavior and words. The guy will rise up, forming a cross between himself and the demon. The monster looks back at this. Juyi raises his hand. Realizing that the pure white blade had successfully inflicted the stun effect, he uses light punishment. A bright light blinds the demon. He uses the fire demon shield. A purple shield forms around the demon, thanks to which it resists light. Bright flashes hit the shield. Juyi concentrates the light in his hand. He notes that even the punishment of light cannot do anything to the demon. The guy comes to the conclusion that he cannot kill such a powerful demon by ordinary means. He understands that he can only use what the system awarded him after the exam. The demon sits on the ground, holding a weapon in his hand. Its mouth opens and monsters appear behind it. The demon calls the generals. Terrible monsters respond with an evil roar. The commander-in-chief points his sword at Juyi, and the monsters run in that direction. The demon spawn orders the monsters to kill Juyi. He raises one hand up, and the entire space around is filled with a bright golden light. The guy's light is so bright that it is visible from afar and takes up a lot of space. Churan and the other people raise their heads and look at the light in surprise. Commander Yuju is also watching this closely. The monsters turn their heads in surprise, looking at Juyi. The guy folds his hands above him. A huge golden hand appears from the sky. The commander-in-chief also watches what is happening in amazement. He says something terrifying is coming. Light fills the entire space. The demon's spawn opens its mouth. The finger of a huge hand presses on the ground, destroying it. Some girls from the Blue Phoenix team cover their faces with their hands because of the bright light. And Chu Ran and King Lion look at this with wide-eyed eyes. King Lion is surprised and assumes that he is dreaming, because he cannot believe that Juji can use such a skill. Chu Ran puts his hand to his chest and closes one eye, wincing. She thinks that the blood of the succubus is terrified. Yuju opens his mouth in surprise, and the guy with red hair thoughtfully analyzes the situation. The commander notes that this power is comparable to ordinary magic cannons. He asks the guy if he found out who is locked inside. He replies that there are students from Sukin University there. The guy explains that the one who used this skill is the top one of this year's special set, and this is the Paladin Juyi. Yuju closes his eyes. He thoughtfully repeats the words that the guy is in his first year and is top one. The man regrets that the difference in levels is too great. He says that one skill of Juji could kill the demon spawn if the guy had more time to develop. The commander-in-chief demon opens his mouth wide. Juyi begins to glow with purple flames. The demon spawn asks how the guy dares to insult the great Oramasa. Everything around is illuminated with a purple light, from which bloodthirsty monsters are visible. The demon spawn shouts for the Fire Demon Legion to attack, and the Fire Curse Legion to cast spells. The monsters have fire burning around them, smiling and looking at Juyi mockingly. Their appearance varies. Some are purple, some are pink, and some are yellow. Their horns, teeth, and muzzle are also different. This is a legion of fire demons that is about to attack, and the Legion of Fire Curse, which consists of demons of the same type in red cloaks and headdresses, holds books with spells in their hands. One of these demons holds in his hand a glowing staff that resembles a hook. The demons surround Juyi and stretch their hands towards him. They run towards the guy from different directions, and demons with strange wings and a demon consisting of skulls fly in the sky, also heading towards Juyi. The commander-in-chief of the demon extends his hand to the magician. He heals her by emitting green light. The demon spawn says to remain calm, because Juyi is only an 18th level paladin. The demon from the Fire Curse Legion agrees, and suggests that the guy must have run out of mana after a few battles, and without mana they will be able to overwhelm him with numbers. The commander-in-chief notes that this is true. Zhu calmly looks at the monsters and thinks that God's hand has used up all his mana, and its recovery speed is too low, so now he is completely unarmed. Demons climb on the guy, enveloping his cloak with themselves. That is, purple slime with bony arms, blue eyes and mouths with sharp teeth. A table appears in front of Zhu, on which is written information that Divine Summoning is a one-time secret Paladin skill. It does not consume mana and does not depend on passive skills. And after activation, it will allow you to use the power of the God of Light and increase the value of 4 characteristics, depending from physical data, and all Divine and Light type skills are temporarily increased by 5. The speed of recovery of health, stamina and mana is increased by 20 times. The table also says that the effect will last for a while, and after it ends, Zhu will fall into a state of weakness. A huge beam of light rises from the ground high into the sky, illuminating everything around with its bright light. A yellow circle with patterns forms in the sky. This ray comes out from under the ground, destroying it. A body can be seen from it. The demons look at this in surprise and confusion. The demon spawn doesn't understand what's happening either. In the air, inside the beam, a silhouette is visible, behind which 6 huge angelic wings appear. This is the angel who appeared at the exam. She hugs Zhu's head and lifts the guy up. Demons look fascinated at the light feathers that fall from the sky. They put their hands up to catch the feathers that emit light. However, after this their hands catch fire. The demons scream in horror and pain, not knowing what to do. Yuju's hand rises to look at the golden feather. He reports that this is a divine call. The guy with red hair asks the commander what it is. Yuju frowns a little. He explains that this is a high-level skill that divine type classes have, and it allows them to release the power of the deities they believe in. Around a man in a white robe, one can see a circle and a bright golden light, and below are people from the army, opposite whom there are demons. Yuju says that he once saw a level 58th priest use divine summoning and restore the health of an entire legion in the blink of an eye. And it was thanks to this skill that their troops were able to withstand the siege of 3 demon regions until reinforcements arrived. The commander says that divine skills are incredibly powerful, and even without them he could kill these demons. The demon spawn looks at what is happening in fear. He exclaims that this cannot be, because this is a high-level secret technique. The commander-in-chief demon is confused, and behind him stands a demon in a red robe. The demon spawn displeasedly notes that the guy is a simple paladin of the 18th level. The demon from the Fire Curse Legion informs his majesty that once this technique has been activated, only the possessor of divine power can interrupt it. Therefore, if Zhu completes what he started, then their entire legion will be destroyed. The commander-in-chief concludes that it is just a skill, but the guy is able to switch between attack and defense. In front of the creature is a huge structure, inside of which one can see dark light and frightened faces. And there are demons around. The commander-in-chief asks how long it will take to create a portal to the Valley of the Dark Barrier. He replies that they only need a minute, and His Majesty will be able to return. The demon spawn calmly looks forward. He says this is great, and it's time for his subordinates to prove their loyalty. The demons agree in unison. The creature, with other demons standing around, tells the fire demons to heed his command and sacrifice everything they have to the respected demon spawn Oramasu. The purple light shoots upward, and at the end of it is the silhouette of the head of a demon from the Fire Curse Legion. Demons kneel. One of them says that he, Ruskin, will sacrifice everything he has to become part of His Majesty. All the demons sit down as a purple light shines above them. Odin says that he, Bacta, will sacrifice everything he has to become part of His Majesty. Demon Eric repeats the same thing. The demon spawn rises into the air as a flash of purple light forms around it. This light partially evaporates and a dark purple circle appears in Oramasu's chest, from which rays of the same color emerge. The angel inside the yellow light is holding Zhu in his arms. The purple demon light and the golden light of Zhu are approaching each other. The angel looks at the demon's creation. She notes that it is an ugly and pathetic inferior species. Angel hugs Zhu, holding him. She tells the paladin that she will grant him divine power. The angel extends his hand, about to tell what God said. Zhu's eyes begin to glow with golden light. His appearance transforms, with a large golden ring with spikes hanging behind him. The guy continues the phrase, saying that God said there would be light. A ray comes from the sky, which hits the ground and creates an explosion, breaking it. The demon spawn falls and some rocks fall on it. Ormuz is annoyed by this. A purple funnel is visible. Orimas became the spawn of a level 43 fire demon, a legendary rank. From the purple light that the funnel emitted comes Orimas, who now looks more intimidating and powerful. A purple beam shoots into the light beam. Orimas uses Fire Demon Roar. He reaches for the purple glowing ball. The demon raises this huge ball above himself. Orimas uses Solar Flare. Holding the glowing ball in his hands, the demon spawn thinks that this is the strongest innate skill of the fire demons, which concentrates the power of the fire element to the limit, and the surface temperature can reach 15 million degrees Celsius, and if not for the very sacrifice of his demons, he would never I couldn't develop this skill. This huge ball flies quickly to Zhu Yi. Orimas exclaims that the Paladin must die. The guy stands calmly and looks forward. A bright explosion occurs and a huge cross is visible. Looking at this, the demon spawn laughs thoughtfully. Chu Ran and the Blue Phoenix girls watch in alarm. Zhu Yi comes out with yellow and purple lights burning around him. Orimas clearly did not expect this. He understands that they are on completely different levels. The commander-in-chief begins to move forward. The demon notices that a minute has passed and the portal has been built. He is about to enter it. Raising his hand and sternly looking at his opponent, Zhu Yi declares that in the name of the Lord he declares him a heretic. The guy waves his hand, leaving a golden light. He angrily shouts that Orimas must die. The demon turns around and screams in fear. A beam of light cuts the ground. Behind the yellow standing Polly, the silhouette of Zhu Yi can be seen. The beam passed along the ground, leaving a mark on it, and across Orimasu, cutting his body lengthwise. The demon is trying to crawl forward. He mumbles something incomprehensible about how he has completed his mission, and also about return, glory, and the sacred kingdom. Orimas dies and remains lying on the ground. The demons stand in a group and look fearfully at their dead commander-in-chief. Someone wonders what they should do now that the demon's spawn is dead. The demon notes that the portal is damaged and asks how they can return to the sacred realm. Zhu Yi hangs in the air with dust surrounding him. The guy closes his eyes. Fatigue is visible on his face. Zhu Yi is relieved that it has finally happened. The guy's pendant is raised. Zhu Yi is glad that everything is over. Chu Ran and the Blue Phoenix girls take off as they see Zhu Yi falling, leaving behind a beam of light in the air. The girls run towards him, calling out to Zhu Yi. The guy's eyes open slightly. He sees Chu Ran bending over him and the military. The priest is ordered to immediately check on Zhu Yi's condition. The guy hears the order being given to Team 1 and Team 2. It's about finding survivors. This is followed by another order, which is that the remaining members of the Legion go on the attack. Zhu Yi's hand digs into the bed. It's very hard for him. The guy thinks that he can't breathe. His brows are furrowed and beads of sweat appear on his face. Zhu Yi feels as if something is lying on his chest like a stone. He frowns and turns his head, suffering from unpleasant sensations. Zhu Yi realizes that he cannot move and thinks that perhaps the ghost is pressing on him. The guy, confused, assumes that he is dying. He wakes up and gets up scared. Zhu Yi looks at one point in shock and breathes heavily. Chu Ran, who stands up and leans her hand on the bed, rubs her eye. She tells the guy that he has finally woken up. The girl explains to Zhu Yi that he slept for 2 whole days. Chu Ran says that he will inform the others that he has come to his senses. Zhu Yi thinks that she would have strangled him to death if he had woken up a little later. The girl grabs Zhu Yi's clothes. She's about to say something else. The girl clings to him and kisses him tenderly on the cheek. Zhu Yi did not expect this. He looks in front of him in surprise. Chu Ran thanks Zhu Yi for saving her. The girl gets up and walks, clicking her heels. She opens the door and leaves the room. With a warm smile on her face, Zhu Yi touches the cheek that Chu Ran just kissed with 2 fingers. He thinks about this girl. A table appears in front of the guy, which he looks at with interest. Information appears on the table that Zhu Yi's daily task of 200 push-ups, squats, and sit-ups has not been completed. The guy thinks about the fact that he slept for 2 days, and therefore, unfortunately, lost the rewards for daily tasks. He decides to see if the task was worth it. The table says that the task, Kill the Demon Spawn, has been completed and the reward for the task has been received. Zhu Yi received the S+ rank talent, Death Resistance, which means that his body resists death, so all wounds will be healed faster. The guy also received an S+ rank potion, Elixir of Luck, thanks to which, within 12 hours after use, luck increases significantly. Zhu Yi looks contentedly at the table with this information. He notes that many classes have something similar to a talent that heals wounds, but they all have different effects. A knife appears above Zhu Yi's palm. The guy looks at him madly. Zhu Yi decides that there must be something special about the S+ rank talent, Death Resistance. The guy grabs a knife and stabs himself. He looks at his perfect torso, which is open because the guy unbuttoned his shirt. Zhu Yi exclaims contentedly that he was healed in 2 seconds. The guy comes to the conclusion that this is incredible, and now he will not suffer from wounds in battle, and his survivability has increased significantly. Zhu Yi sits down and raises his leg. A golden silhouette of a hammer appears in his hand. The guy wants to know what will happen if he suffers a serious injury to his limb. However, he calmly closes his eyes and the silhouette of the weapon disappears. Zhu Yi decides it doesn't matter. The guy's legs are shaking. He thinks that she doesn't know, but they almost lost each other. Reading information about the elixir of good luck, Zhu Yi wonders what good luck means. He imagines that perhaps he will receive a legendary weapon when he leaves the house, or that the grandmother he helps cross the road will turn out to be a top-notch professional, or that he will be able to buy a treasure at a roadside kiosk. Zhu Yi clicks on the table and reads something. He decides to save the elixir for later, because it can be used in many ways. The table says that Zhu Yi has a Sacred Flame Halo of the 1st level, which forms a halo of sacred flame behind a person, makes it possible to control the fire element and increases the damage from light and fire type skills, as well as from the skills of allies by 20%, and the effect lasts for a certain period of time. Zhu Yi looks questioningly at the table. He wonders what this halo of sacred flame is. Continuing reading, the guy sees that this skill is divine. Now, he begins to understand everything. Zhu Yi scratches his chin and remembers the moment when, during the battle with the spawn of the demon, Ormas, a golden halo with spikes appeared behind him. The guy remembers how an angel appeared then. Zhu Yi has Sacred Angel Defense, thanks to which the connection with light types is greatly increased, and all light and divine type skills will have an enhanced effect. Zhu Yi covers his mouth with his hand. Concern and thoughtfulness are visible on his face. The guy analyzes the information about the skills he received. Zhu Yi thinks about the fact that Holy Flame Halo is a light type skill, so it can be enhanced by Holy Angel Defense, and after that, the damage of light and fire element is increased by 40%. The guy assumes that this means that when the Sacred Flame Halo and Light Punishment are activated at the same time, he will be able to control the 2 elements. Suddenly, some noise interrupts his thoughts, and Zhu Yi turns his head to the side. A red-haired man in marsh-colored pants, black shoes, and a blue robe sits in front of him. He settled down on the large corner sofa, resting his hands on his legs and folding his arms into a triangle. Zhu Yi scratches the back of his head in confusion and walks towards the man. He reveals that he is the vice commander of the Snow Dragon Corps. The man says his name is Wang Liang. He thanks Zhu Yi because they were able to capture many demons because Zhu Yi destroyed the demon spawn. The guy, as if he had done nothing special, replies that there is nothing to thank him for. Zhu Yi assumes that Wang Liang has some business with him. The vice president takes out some kind of blue and yellow ball from under his robe. He explains that the commander himself should have thanked Zhu Yi, but he had urgent matters to attend to, so he will come instead of Yu Zhu. Wang Liang reports that Zhu Yi's final blow destroyed half of the forest barrier valley, but traces of the demons remained intact. The vice commander says that the Corps learned the secret of the demons, and the captain went to report this to his superiors. Wang Liang throws the ball. The space around Zhu Yi and Wang Liang changes dramatically. The space around them becomes blue, filled with rectangles, and the guys are surrounded by blue energy. Wang Liang points to the rectangular tables that appeared, which showed an epic rank shining sword, a legendary rank battle axe, a legendary rank dark shadow boots, an S rank fire tinder, and others. Wang Liang explains that these are resources accumulated by the Snow Dragon Corps over hundreds of years. The man asks Zhu Yi not to be shy and express his wishes. The guy points his finger at one of the images, thinking that there are S+ rank talents here. He quickly turns his head to Wang Liang, the guy's eyes shining. Zhu Yi asks if there is an S rank Ice Lotus in the Snow Dragon Corps warehouse. He calmly replies that he will check now. Information appears on the table in front of Wang Liang. It shows an S rank Ice Lotus, which when consumed can produce an ice body, and the affinity for the ice element increases greatly. The cost of this item is 100 million. The vice commander asks if this is what Zhu Yi is looking for. The guy smiles, and hope sparkles in his eyes. Zhu Yi exclaims that this is what he is going for. Smiling anxiously, Wang Liang clicks on the table. He hastily agrees with Zhu Yi's wishes. The vice commander thinks that 100 million is his salary for 3 years. He decides to ask the commander for giving him this money. Wang Liang raises his hands, holding a ball that emits blue light in one of them. The space around gradually changes, becoming an ordinary room. Wang Liang starts to leave. Closing his eyes, he explains that the Ice Lotus is in the warehouse of their headquarters, and Zhu Yi will have to stay here for a few more days. The vice commander says that he can ask someone to help the guy hunt monsters in the mountains if he gets bored. Slyly looking back at Zhu Yi, Wang Liang's head is filled with thoughts that he will allow Zhu Yi to hunt monsters with the guys from the Corps his age so that they get to know him better. And once Zhu Yi becomes the strongest person, the Snow Dragon Corps can benefit from this friendship. The vice commander triumphantly decides that this plan is simply ideal. Wang Liang's hand reaches for the door handle, wanting to open it, but Zhu Yi, smiling nervously and holding his hand on the back of his head, motions for Wang Liang to stop. The guy apologizes and explains that he needs to return to university to take part in the freshman competition tomorrow. Zhu Yi points out that Wang Liang can just send the Lotus to his dorm. The vice commander exhales in irritation and stops. He thoughtfully says that he completely forgot that Zhu Yi is also a student. The man reveals that the Ice Lotus will be sent to his dorm at Suhan University in 2 days. Wang Liang tells Zhu Yi to contact the Snow Dragon Corps if he encounters something he can't handle in the Storm Wind Mountains. Zhu Yi thanks the vice commander. Wang Liang leaves, the door closes behind him. Zhu Yi sits on the sofa and looks up. Hope, joy, and relief shine in his eyes. He says that Zhu Yun is saved. The guy thinks that he should pay tribute to the demon spawn, because without it, he would not have been able to gain access to the warehouse of the Snow Dragon Corps and get the Ice Lotus. Zhu Yi sits in front of the TV with a clock hanging above it. The guy notices that it's almost 12 o'clock. He decides to finish the daily task first. In the Blue Phoenix team room, King Lion gets out of the shower. She wraps herself in a towel. And on the stairs stands Tian Run, who covers her mouth with her hand. A joyful Zhu Zhao jumps over the railing, and an equally happy Zhu Dan runs up to King Lion. All the girls are standing nearby. Tian Rong calmly looks at Zhu Zhao and puts his hand on her shoulder, while Zhu Dan holds King Lion's hand. Zhu Zhao approaches the team captain, King Lion, saying that they want to invite Zhu Yi to join the Blue Phoenix. The girl asks what King Lion thinks about this. She, with a dissatisfied expression on her face, closes her eyes and straightens her hair. King Lion says that he does not think that Zhu Yi will agree, because given his abilities, it is much more profitable for him to hunt monsters solo. Zhu Dan spreads his arms to the sides and notes that you can't know until you try. The girl reminds King Lion that she herself wants Zhu Yi to be with them. Tian Run explains that she saw King Lion spying on Zhu Yi several times. The team captain, dressed in a beautiful yellow dress, calmly knocks on the door. Zhu Yi opens, wiping his face with his t-shirt, thereby exposing his torso. Smiling sweetly, King Lion asks if the guy wants to join the Blue Phoenix team. Zhu Yi asks again. A slight blush appears on King Lion's face. She sarcastically notes that Zhu Zhao and Zhu Dan will be heartbroken if Zhu Yi does not join. The guy asks not to joke like that. King Lion folds her hands behind her back and looks sweetly at Zhu Yi. She says that she wanted to thank him for saving them in the mountains. The girl hugs him, placing one hand on his shoulder, the other on his neck, and kisses his cheek. Zhu Yi looks ahead dumbfounded. His eyes are wide open and there is a blush on his face. King Lion says this is a special thank you. The girl closes the door, smiles widely and waves goodbye to him. Zhu Yi is left alone with himself. He places his hand where King kissed him and looks confused at the door she just closed. Zhu Yi thinks about this special gratitude and comes to the conclusion that the girls are quite brave now. Meanwhile, at the base, the commander stands in front of a screen that depicts an explosion, and opposite him there is a semicircular table with devices that project creatures as if they were sitting at this table in real life. The man explains that, according to their investigation, the demons invaded them 6 months ago, and have been hiding in the Stormwind Mountains ever since. Yuju adds that demons have learned to travel around the world through medium-sized cracks. One of those present, a fashionable creature with horns, asks if Yuju is confident and whether he understands what this means. He confidently replies that for a long time creatures from other worlds could only penetrate their planet through large interdimensional cracks, and since large cracks cannot exist for long, invasion from other worlds does not pose a great threat. The man says that there are countless medium-sized cracks on their planet, so if creatures from other worlds can pass through them, then the planet will be in danger of extinction. Yuju explains that for this reason, the current results have been tested many times, and fortunately, only monsters below level 30 can pass through a medium-sized crack. A man in a suit looks seriously at a cat girl in blue clothes. A powerful creature with large horns rests its head on its hand and concludes that it must take action as soon as possible, if this is the case. Congresswoman Yang, a girl with dark hair who holds snakes, is ordered to inform all major legions in the country to immediately investigate all medium-sized cracks in their territories. Congresswoman Zhang, the cat girl, is ordered to attend an international meeting to report these results, as well as observe other countries' reactions. A man with long hair asks the commander if this information was received from an 18-year-old teenager. Yuju replies that it is. He shows Zhuyi on the screen, telling him his name and that he is a paladin, the top one of Suhan County and a freshman at Suhan University. Yuju explains that the guy used divine summoning in the Stormwind Mountains to defeat the demon spawn and destroy their squad. The man exclaims that Zhu Yi contributed greatly to their operation. The long-haired man opens his mouth in surprise. The powerful creature stares at the screen in amazement, noting that paladins rarely take first place. One of those present asks if Zhu Yi could be a descendant of the Ice Zhu family. The horned creature asks Wang Hui, the rector of Suhan University, to check on Zhu Yi upon his return to the university. He agrees. The powerful being asks to tell them if Zhu Yi has potential and not to take everyone who is capable of it. Yuju looks at those present with relief, realizing that they are all the strongest people in their country, and if Zhu Yi can win their favor, then a bright future awaits him. At Sukan University, a robot flies through the air, causing people to raise their heads. The robot tells the students that the freshman competition will start at 10 o'clock in the morning and they should not be late. A man with long gray hair, a mustache, and a beard stands with a staff in his hand. Zhu Huayang, dean of the Faculty of Elemental Magic. A red-haired man with a sword behind his back stands with his arms crossed. Sung Kai, dean of the Faculty of Weapons. Deans stand in front of many students. A fat man stands with his eyes closed. Wu Qi-king, dean of the Faculty of Logistics. A gray-haired woman with her hair tied in a ponytail and wearing glasses stands with her arms crossed. Zhang Lin, dean of the Faculty of Tactics. A dark-skinned man stands with his hands behind his back. Wu Man, dean of the Military Faculty. He says that he welcomes everyone who has chosen Sukan University. He reports that the freshman competition will be divided into 2 stages. The first stage is a test in the Secret Kingdom, where the rating will depend on the selected difficulty and time of completion. The second stage is a free competition, where students will have 3 opportunities to compete against someone who is in a higher position than them. He adds that if he wins, the student can exchange ranks with his student. A girl with black hair tied in a ponytail wonders where Zhu Yi and Xu Zhan are, because if they don't show up soon, they will be disqualified. She adds that she shouldn't have told him about the Ice Lotus. One of the students asks the other students if they have seen Zhu Yi. Someone tells him no, and then asks if he forgot about the competition. Among the crowd stands a red-haired man in red clothes. One of the students answers the previous student that it is quite possible, because he was absent for a whole month. They answer him that that's great, -1 strong opponent. The red-haired man smiles maliciously and thought that Zhu Yi, instead of training, wasted a whole month. He didn't even have the courage to come to the freshman competition. He adds that he cannot even take advantage of the opportunity that is looming in front of his nose. Balls materialize above man's hands and streams of golden energy emanate from them. He shouted, "Secret Realm!" He reports that the silver-ranked Secret Realm has been opened. A huge amount of black and purple energy appears in front of the students. A pink and white portal appears. Man reports that this year's freshmen are stronger than ever and have never had so many strong students in their entire history. He adds that this will allow them all to reveal their powers to the fullest. Smoke hangs over the students. Dark-skinned Jekin reports that in addition to easy, hard, and nightmare difficulty levels, they specifically added the Abyss level. The student in the gray shirt exclaims that they have added an Abyss level, so it is not surprising that the portal is burning with a strange flame. The blue-haired muscular man combines his fists and exclaims that this is absurd, because he remembers that the Abyss was tens of times more difficult than the nightmare. The guy with the gun in his hand says it will be fun. The guy with the staff closed his eyes and said that he would definitely clear the location at the Abyss level. Man raises his fist above himself and tells the students to prepare their best potions, equipment, and weapons. The portal says that the location is called the Secret Kingdom, Lair of Bear Monsters. Required level, 1219. Difficulty, easy, hard, nightmare, abyss. Number of participants, 6 people. Note, there is a group of bear monsters living in the dark forest. Legend has it that even a whole person is not enough to satisfy the hunger of a little bear. Students move into the kingdom. System notifications appear in the portal with information about what difficulty levels players have chosen. Man thought that they were all ambitious guys. He asks where 001 and 003 are. A blue-eyed girl with black hair answers that they went to the Stormwind Mountains to gain experience and have not returned yet. The dark-skinned dean screams and asks what this nonsense is and how they can be late when the freshman competition is used to determine the future direction of development and allocate resources. He adds that they act arrogantly because of their ranks. The black-haired girl says that Juyi is not like that. Man raises his palm and says that such students need to be taught a lesson, because if they do not show up, they will be disqualified and their rating will decrease. The main character appears with a girl on his shoulder. He asks to wait, and then apologizes for being late. All the deans have surprised expressions on their faces. System notifications appear on the portal with information that rank 001 Zhu Yi has chosen the Abyss level and rank 003 Chu Zhan has chosen the Abyss level. The girl with a smile on her face tells the protagonist that they will do it. The protagonist receives a system notification with information that he has entered the lair of bear monsters and has selected the Abyss difficulty level. Note, monsters on Abyss difficulty are extremely brutal. You should pay attention to the timing of using the Scroll of Return. The protagonist appears in the middle of the test site and is enveloped in a golden glow. There are old trees around it. The protagonist used Dawn's blessing, courage, God's gift, and protection. With a smile on his face, he says that he hopes this difficulty, which is talked about so much, will force him to give his all. 3 bears appear in front of the protagonist. The first of them is called Bear Warrior, and he has level 17. Rank, Silver with 2 stars. Skills, Fur Armor, Charge, Fury. The second one is called the Tracker Bear, and he has level 17. Rank, Silver with 2 stars. Skills, Slow, Track. The third enemy is called the level 18 Bear Warrior. Rank, Silver with 2 stars. Skills, Aura of Fortitude, Combat Stomp. The protagonist holds a hammer in his hand. He jumps on the bears and swings his hammer. Someone makes 2 quick strikes at the bear. It was Chu Zhan. She used a B-rank crushing blow, which can be used to quickly swing the weapon to release continuous sword energy and deliver heavy blows that penetrate the enemy's defenses. A man with fiery hair burns a bear. He concentrated the power of the flames into his fist, causing massive damage. A blonde man in a green jacket kicks a bear and shouts that 16 bears from the very beginning is incredible. Heartbreaker's Whirlwind Punch rank C allows you to turn your entire body and perform a jumping strike, knocking the opponent down and temporarily rendering him unconscious. The deans are watching what is happening. Man says the freshman's performance this year is not bad, and the Bear's Den is one of the most complex secret realms of their university. He reports that usually freshmen, upon entering the location, fall into a stupor and die, but this year they are all holding up well. He asks to show him 001, because he wants to see what he can do after spending a month in the Stormwind Mountains. The main character moves his hand with a hammer to the side and golden flames emanate from him. The protagonist defeats his enemies in an instant by attacking them with his hammer. The system congratulates the protagonist for completing the first level. He killed 16 bear monsters in 5 seconds. Hua Young screams and asks if the protagonist cleared the challenge in just 5 seconds. He says that Juyi only used the sub-skill Holy Flame Halo, but the fire was strong enough to instantly kill monsters. Kai moves his hand to the side and asks if it is possible that he has high X scores. Man says there could be many reasons why a skill like this does a lot of damage, including intelligence stats, buffs, treasure, and the like. He adds that they cannot judge only by this fight. The Black Dean says that even with all his years of experience, he cannot understand what the effect of this strange skill is. He adds that Zhu Yi didn't waste any time and calls the protagonist an interesting child. The main character shouts, "Punishment of the Light." A golden crackling energy emanates from his eyes. Golden energy in front of the protagonist rushes into the bears, and they burn. A system notification appears congratulating the protagonist on completing the second level. He killed 200 bear monsters in 1 minute and 23 seconds. The protagonist jumped over the bear in armor. The main character exclaims, "Spear of victory! Many golden rays destroy the bear." The system congratulates the protagonist for completing the 3rd level. He killed the bear monster in 3 minutes and 29 seconds. The next system notification says that the protagonist has cleared the Secret Kingdom on the Abyss difficulty level. Time taken, 4 minutes and 57 seconds. Rank SSS. The protagonist set a new record for the time to complete this location. The following notification says that the rewards have been received. Skill Book, Hammer of Vengeance, Rank B+. 13212 experience points, 25 stat points, 25 skill points. A system window appears with information about the Hammer of Retribution skill, with the help of which a hammer created from divine power aimed at the enemy can cause enormous damage. System notifications appear, where it is written that since the main character is the first to clear this location at this difficulty level, he has unlocked a new talent, and he needs to choose one of 3. The first talent is Focus Aura Rank A, which increases reaction speed by 30%. But there is a 30% chance that the skill will not be interrupted. The second talent is called Quick Steps Rank A, with which, after entering the combat state, the movement speed will constantly increase up to 50%. The third talent is called Strong Defense Rank A, and thanks to it, when using a shield as a weapon, resistance increases by 30%. The protagonist emerges from the golden smoke and thinks that perhaps clearing the Secret Kingdom also opens up new talents. He says that the strength of a class depends greatly on its talents. In the beginning, he relied on his S+ rank talent to activate the Paladin class during the awakening ceremony. Many defeated bears lie on the ground. The protagonist says that it seems that this is a privilege of the silver level secret realm, and in the end, he did not receive a Teo reward when he broke the bronze level realm's record. Jui stands among the defeated enemies and says that it's nice that he was given 3 options to choose from, so he doesn't have to worry about getting a useless talent. He adds that strong defense is suitable for tanks, so it's not very useful for him. He thinks that quick steps are good, but the focus aura overshadows them. He says with a thoughtful look that in a real battle, it takes time to react after seeing the enemy's actions, and the stronger the enemy, the faster his attacks, and the more important the reaction speed. He imagines 2 men fighting each other. The protagonist says that the situation in battle is constantly changing, and the aura of concentration can reduce the risk of his skill being interrupted, which can change the course of the battle if used correctly. The main character puts his hand forward. A huge pink and purple portal appears in front of him, on which it is written that the protagonist has cleared the Secret Kingdom at the Abyss difficulty level. The system asks the main character if he wants to open an additional level. The protagonist thought that a sickening smell was coming from the portal. Shuyi smiled and thought that he hoped the extra level would be interesting. Hua Yang rubs his beard and exclaims with admiration on his face, "What an incredible fighting technique! Impeccable control of the elements!" The Black Dean says that he thinks quickly and adapts easily, and then says that the Abyss difficulty was added for a reason. Kai says that Juyi is very versatile, and he not only has powerful magic attacks, but also enhancement skills and incredible melee skills. Lin, looking at the protagonist, says that, however, the spread of the Paladin's skills is too wide, and as the level increases, he will need more points, and his result may turn out to be mediocre. Man tells the girl that she is right, and as soon as the freshman competition is over, he will have to talk to him. Kai, with a smile on his face, tells the Black Dean that the protagonist has not yet decided which house he will join, so they should let him choose before he talks to him. Hua Young smiles with closed eyes and says that they need to wait until Juyi decides. Some say that the selection has already begun. A man wearing black clothes and long black hair appears behind the deans. He tells the deans that it seems that they are all very pleased with the main character, and it is a pity that he was late and could not personally verify his strength. The deans call this man the rector. The shadow of the trees falls on the ground. The main character asks if some kind of ritual was performed here. He sees in front of him a mountain of bones, on top of which there is a throne on which a skeleton sits. He thought that if there are good gods, then there must be evil ones. The main character looked closely at the skeleton on the throne and thought that the evil god was not just a god of darkness, but a collective name for some crazy gods. He adds that there is a huge difference between them. The protagonist steps on the red magic circle. He looks at the magic circle and thought that prayer to the god of light or darkness requires only pure and sincere faith. But prayer to the evil gods requires a new life and soul. He adds that the infamous Bloody Abyss incident that happened decades ago was caused by a man who believed in an evil god. This man was planning to sacrifice a medium-sized city. Millions of lives were taken in an instant, and his level rose from 54 to 89. Even though it was destroyed by the military, the millions of souls that the evil god took could not be returned. The protagonist thought that since then it has been prohibited in their country to pray to evil gods, and anyone caught doing this will be immediately executed. He adds that belief in evil gods brings quick benefits, and many still take the risk. Purple energy emanates from the skeleton on the throne. An animal skeleton sits on the throne. The protagonist, with a serious expression on his face, thought that not only people can pray to evil gods. A huge black bear appears in front of the protagonist, from which streams of golden energy emanate. He thought that some animals, elves and angels could also do this. A black system window appears with information about the level 19 ghost bear. Note, he was originally the leader of a group of bear monsters, but after the evil god's ritual, he turned into a ghost. The ghost bear says how long ago it was, and then says that the protagonist's fresh human flesh smells amazing. The main character puts the hammer on his shoulder, and with a smile on his face says that these undead are immune to physical attacks. He adds that martial artists will be stunned if they see this final boss. The main character beckons the enemy with his hand and tells him to come to him. A tall golden whirlwind appears around the protagonist. Golden energy is directed at the enemy, and he says that it is useless. The bear has a surprised expression on its face. Golden energy repels the bear. The main character stands quietly opposite the enemy. He noticed something. Ghost Bear shouts to the protagonist that he recognizes the power of his sacred light, but it will always be meaningless in the face of the immortality granted to him by the great Lord Exia. Ghost Bear looks at the light coming from the protagonist and says that it looks like he has decided to use his main trump card. The bear shouts to the protagonist that all this is useless and his struggle is pointless. He asks the protagonist how much energy he has left after using his trump card. He adds that as soon as he resurrects again, the protagonist will die. The main character, with a smile on his face, puts his hand forward and asks, "Really?" A huge amount of golden energy envelops the bear, and the ground beneath him collapses. Strong wind currents are directed towards the main character. Ghost Bear screams loudly. With an angry expression on his face, he shouts to the protagonist that he has already said that he cannot kill him. The main character, with an arrogant expression on his face, tells the bear that he is too noisy. The main character raises his hands up. A huge amount of golden energy envelops the bear. There is a powerful explosion, and the bear screams for Lord Exia. A window appears where the system congratulates the protagonist for completing the additional level in 1 minute and 12 seconds. In the second window of the system, it is written that the protagonist received rewards in the form of 7,113 experience points and a bear horn of gold rank, and also reaches level 19. The protagonist stands in the middle of the crater. The bear's horn floats above the protagonist's hand. The main character stands in front of the blue portal and says that, as he thought, endless resurrection is just an illusion. He adds that he only needed to use up his power to kill him. The main character, with a serious expression on his face, thought that he felt an aura of power when he first entered here. The protagonist remembers seeing purple energy. He thought that it was not elemental magic, but it felt similar to what he felt when he used divine summoning. He assumed that these were the remnants of the power of some evil god. The protagonist remembers the ghost bear, who opened his mouth wide. A small amount of purple energy emanates from the main character. He thought that the right way to pass this level was to kill this monster over and over again, forcing him to take the energy of the evil god until it completely dried up. The fire-haired man makes numerous strikes at the phantom bear. An ordinary bear runs towards a student. A student with a spear points his weapon at the bear. The phantom bear strikes the student. Black and purple energy emanates from the phantom bear. The man with fiery hair says that the extra levels are truly the most difficult part of the secret kingdom. You need to kill the ghost bear 10 times to finish it off. He stands in front of Ghost Bear and says that it's good that he increased his level in advance, and now he can complete this level in 8 minutes. The man with fiery hair smiles smugly and makes a dash towards the enemy. Kikin, with a smile on his face, notes that the protagonist used the God Hand. He shouts that Juyi used S-rank skills. One of the observers says that the protagonist accidentally found a shortcut. The main character stands near the portal. A man with his hair tied in a ponytail asks the other observers if they want others to use it. Someone with long hair says that it seems that the Paladin has his own secrets. The man in the shirt says that S-rank skills are not something a student from a poor district can get. The rector coughs with a dissatisfied expression on his face, after which the man in the shirt made a worried expression. Man looks at the rector and thinks that he is really helping the student. The girl with blue eyes says that the protagonist's level is displayed incorrectly, and then asks if he is level 19. Some observers say that the protagonist is actually level 19. Another observer says that when the entrance exam results came out, Juyi was only at level 13, and even the secret realm at abyss difficulty would not allow him to rise to 6 levels. Another viewer exclaims that this child is simply incredible. The main character stands with his arms crossed. Near him there is a system window, where it is written that the protagonist is level 19. The rector says that he knows a little about this, and then reports that Juyi has gone to hunt monsters and improve his level after enrolling. He adds that his journey to the Stormwind Mountains brought excellent results. He had already reached level 18 before entering the secret realm. The rector, looking at the protagonist from the top of the stands, says that for someone who can single-handedly destroy an army of fire demons, passing the freshman competition is a piece of cake. He adds that if the freshman competition did not affect the distribution of resources, he probably would not even come to it. There is smoke behind the protagonist. Someone comes out of the portal. The red-eyed guy comes out of the portal. He breathes heavily and looks at the protagonist. He wonders how the protagonist ended up here and whether he really cleared the location earlier. He clenched his teeth out of anger and shouted that this was impossible and that he probably left earlier because they failed the extra level. He creates flames with a snap of his fingers. He puts on a red jacket and says that as a member of one of the 8 great families of Zhongning, he cannot lose to some poor person. The main character looks at the red-eyed guy and thought that he was out of sorts, and then thought that he really couldn't clear the location. Chu Zhen emerges from the portal and falls to the ground. The main character noticed the girl falling. He catches her and tells her to be careful. The girl with a smile on her face tells her brother that he managed it faster than she did. Many small portals appear near the large portal. Chu Zhen asks the protagonist if she shouldn't call him brother, considering that he is several months older. The main character answers that of course. Many students fall from the portals. A girl with blue eyes runs to the students and shouts to the priests to provide first aid to the victims. An hour later, a huge amount of golden energy appears. Golden energy comes from man's hands. A woman with a sign stands among many students and shouts that the first stage of the freshman competition is over, and now they will announce the ranks and completion times. A system notification appears, which says that the first place is occupied by Juyi, who completed the Secret Kingdom in 4 minutes and 57 seconds, and completed the additional level in 1 minute and 23 seconds. Second place went to Ling Feng, who completed the Secret Realm in 13 minutes and 35 seconds, and the additional level in 7 minutes and 42 seconds. The red-eyed man smiles nervously and thought that the protagonist actually managed it faster than him by a whole 15 minutes. He climbs the golden tower with thoughts that the protagonist took away first place from him at the entrance, and now he also wants to take first place at the competition. He adds that he doesn't care how the protagonist did it, but in the next stage he will win. He thinks about trampling the protagonist. The main character looks at Ling Feng and wonders why he climbed there. Man, with his arms crossed, shouts that the second stage of the freshman competition, the free competition, is beginning. He claps his hands together. With the help of golden energy, platforms for battles rise into the air. One of the students shouts that he is challenging the 154th. Another student shouts that his class is better suited for fighting people than monsters, and that's why he challenges 86. Another student shouts that he is challenging Juyi. Man and Lin smile. Ling Feng jumps into the arena and yells at the protagonist to come here. He snaps his fingers and creates flames around himself. He invites the protagonist to see which of them is stronger. Chu Zhen tells the protagonist that this is Ling Feng, who is ranked second in the ranking, and he is from the noble Zhongning family and has the rare blood of fire dragons flowing in him. She adds that due to the protagonist's sudden appearance, he was unable to take first place in the second district, so he harbored a grudge against him. The main character looks at the enemy and thought that he was much stronger than him, but could not understand this because he is just a fool, blinded by rage. The main character jumped off the floor. He lands on the platform and materializes a hammer in his hand. then tells the red-haired guy that he hopes he can make him give it his all. Ling Feng creates a huge amount of flame around himself and shouts to the protagonist to come here, and they will see who is stronger, a paladin or a berserker. Man announces the start of the test. The red-eyed guy's hair becomes on fire, and he lunges towards the protagonist using blood rage. Rector says that this is the signature skill of a berserker, and Ling Feng wants to end it as soon as possible. He reports that this guy immediately used blood fury to enhance fire punch and attacked first, depriving Zhu Yi of the ability to use buffs. He adds that as expected from a descendant of a great family, Ling Feng makes quick decisions in battle. The protagonist protects himself from the attack of the red-eyed guy with the help of golden energy. A red-eyed guy with an angry expression on his face screams and asks if this is the protection of the holy light, and when the main character managed to use it. The protagonist stands among the smoke. The guy with fiery hair thought that the B+ rank skill Holy Light Defense could partially block physical damage. He adds that he hoped he wouldn't be able to take advantage of it, but he was too slow. The main character smiles smugly and tells the enemy that it was smart, because his attacks are fast, but he only needs 1/10 of a second to activate Holy Light Defense. Crackling energy emanates from the protagonist's hammer. The main character swings a hammer and tells the enemy that he hoped that he would provide decent resistance, so he did not attack first, and then reports that he is not interested in him. The hammer rushes towards Ling Feng. The red-eyed guy uses the fire shield, causing a powerful explosion. It flies upward after the main character attacks. He thought that the protagonist instantly destroyed his fire shield, and then wonders where he got such power. A bead of sweat runs down his cheek. The main character moves to the red-eyed guy and swings a hammer at him. The red-eyed guy thought he couldn't dodge. He made a serious expression and shouts that he cannot lose. His eyes look like they have become animalistic. A huge beam of golden energy meets resistance. Ling Feng develops horns and orange lines appear on his body. He used the fire dragon body. He hits the protagonist, who tells the enemy that it seems that this is the power that is hidden in his blood. The villain takes a swing at the main character. The protagonist thought that this was the case with Chu Zhan, and the same thing was happening with Ling Feng. He adds that all classes with special bloodlines seem to have their own trump card. The main character grabs the enemy's hand and thought that he was jealous. He swings his hammer at the enemy and tells him that even with such a pedigree, he is no match for him. A huge golden beam comes from the protagonist's blow. The villain is pushed back. The main character, with a serious expression on his face, thought that his enemy had dodged. Ling Feng shouts with a malicious smile that the power of the fire dragon's blood is not limited to melee combat. He tells the protagonist that today he will show him what the power of a fire dragon is. Powerful flames emanate from his mouth as he used dragon breath. A powerful flame rushes towards the protagonist. Someone from the audience shouts that this is dragon breath, a skill of the fire dragon bloodline. Chu Zhan looks at the protagonist with concern. Another spectator shouts that Ling Feng was forced to use his trump card. Another spectator shouts that Zhu Yi does not have a special pedigree. He may be at a disadvantage. One of the spectators shouts that Zhu Yi will lose. Tongues of golden flame appear behind the protagonist. A circle appears behind the main character, around which the flames concentrate. He used the sacred flame halo. The flames are directed at the protagonist. The scoundrel with a shocked expression wondered if the dragon's breath had been absorbed by the halo behind him. He looks at the protagonist, whose eyes are glowing golden, and thought that he felt as if he was looking at his king. Ling Feng gathers flames around himself and shouts that this is impossible. A lot of fire comes out of his mouth. The main character disintegrates the fire and tells the enemy that it is useless and his flames will not be able to escape from his control. The protagonist swings his hammer and shouts that it's time to end this battle. Flames are directed at Ling Feng. The enemy asks the protagonist if he really wants to defeat him with his own fire. The villain spreads his arms to the sides and shouts that he will regain control of his flame. He uses destruction. Flames hit him. The enemy is pushed far back. He hit the arena boundary. The judge announces that Ling Feng lost consciousness and therefore Zhu Yi won. The face of the red-eyed guy is hidden by his long hair. Some observers say that this proud and arrogant berserker Ling Feng was completely suppressed, and the protagonist did not even fight at full strength. The protagonist moves in the opposite direction from the enemy, who is being treated by the priests. Some observers say that it is not surprising that he defeated Ling Feng with his level and intelligence. Another viewer says, who would have thought that he would rise 5 levels in a month. Among the spectators stands a man with purple hair. Man tells the other deans to look, because the top one of the district has appeared there. The main character jumped onto another platform. He landed on the floor. He sees in front of him a brown-eyed girl with 2 braids. She puts her hands together and introduces herself as Sun Zia-Lan and reveals that she is a 17th level Taoist spiritual priest. She adds that she wants to learn from the protagonist. The main character rests his chin and thought that spiritual Taoist priests are a unique class that is extremely rare. They are skilled in the use of talismans and sealing techniques. He adds that when it was confirmed that Xiao Yun's illness was caused by her bloodline, the priest suggested dealing with it using a sealing technique. He didn't expect to meet a spiritual Taoist priest here. The main character introduces himself by his name and says that he is a paladin of the 19th level. The girl with a smile on her face asks the protagonist if he fought at full strength and if he could do his best when their fight begins. She asks the protagonist not to worry, because she will not interfere with his use of buffs. Spectators discuss what is happening. Some of them ask when Ju Yi reached level 19. Another spectator shouts that it's no wonder he can't use the assessment skill on him, he's 3 levels higher than him. Another spectator shouts that Ju Yi did not use any means of defense when he fought Lin Feng. One of the spectators asks if Zia Lan is not a young lady from the Sung Yi family and is not their representative in the outside world. The main character crossed his arms and answered the girl, "As you wish." Zia Lan smiles happily and answers the protagonist, "You promised." The referee announces the start. The protagonist's eyes begin to glow golden. He used Dawn's blessing, courage and protection. A golden glow and crackling energy appears around the protagonist. The brown-eyed girl has a surprised expression on her face. The protagonist raises his hand and puts on the paladin armor. A bright sacred flame emanates from his hand. He says that this is his strength, and now they can enjoy the battle. The girl moves her hand to the side and red talismans appear around her. She thought that now she also needs to give it her all. The main character uses the hammer of retribution. A huge amount of golden energy is directed into the girl. Red talismans are sent towards this energy. The talismans are almost close to the protagonist's skill. The girl holds one talisman in her hand and says, "Fate is determined. The stars show the way. Divine symbols are revealed. Heed my order." Explosion. A devastating explosion occurs in front of her. The girl looks around and wonders where Ju Yi went. The main character appears behind the girl and swings a hammer at her, and then asks her if she thinks she can dodge his attack by simply changing her position. Zia Lan has a shocked expression on her face. She repels the protagonist's attack with talismans and wonders when he had time. She thought with a dissatisfied expression on her face that even with all the means of protection, she would hardly be able to block it, but she would take the risk and take advantage of it. The girl makes a swing and fireballs fly from her. She brings her hands together and hieroglyphs form around them. She sticks flags into the ground and puts her hand forward. She says, "Borrowing the power of heaven and earth, I will turn beings into soldiers. Show your power. Heed my order. Show up." Magical warriors in armor appear in front of her. The main character goes to meet the soldiers and says, "How interesting. This is the Taoist technique of creating soldiers from beings." 2 magical warriors run towards the protagonist. The protagonist swings a hammer, and a golden glow emanates from his eye. He quickly strikes the enemy. Magic warriors light up. The main character thought that fighting the soldiers would be easy, but they have regeneration abilities similar to those of the Phantom Bear, so it is a bit problematic. He adds that it looks like he will have to destroy the mana source to finish them off. The protagonist makes a wide strike, hitting all enemies at once. Zia Lan thought it was crazy that her soldiers could lure a level 30 professional into a trap, but Ju Yi dealt with him without much effort. The main character ends up behind the girl and swings a hammer at her. Zia Lan raises his hands and says he gives up. The judge announces that the main character has won. The protagonist asks the girl if she didn't want to give it her all. The girl smiles and closes her eye, and then says that they are even on the same level, so she accepts her defeat. All talismans return back to the girl. She wondered if the protagonist was making fun of her, because she could fight a few more times, but if she continued, she would end up the same as Lin Feng. She jumps and tells the protagonist that they will fight again later when the opportunity arises. The protagonist pulls the hammer behind his back and swirling golden energy appears behind him. He spins the hammer in his hand. The main character, with a grim expression on his face, asks who is next, and then says that he is right here, waiting to be challenged. A muscular student says that he ate too much and does not feel very well. The blue-haired student looks at the brown-haired guy with a smile on his face and asks him if he happens to be the same guy they met when they were younger. He asks him if he is number 156, and then says that he is in 172nd place and offers to fight. Chujan puts his hands together with a joyful expression and says that everything happened as expected from Brother Zhuji. The blue-eyed girl holds her hands on her belt and says that his strength exceeds that of a warrior, and his agility exceeds that of a magician. She adds that this is simply beyond imagination. A brown-haired guy asks a student in a green shirt if he really is from a poor family from the barren north, and if he is definitely not some richer one. The guy in the green shirt says that since he is top one among the freshmen, the word genius is already enough to describe him. He adds that although the word monster suits him better, the deans are overseeing the test. Man thought that the second stage was almost completed and the time would soon come for the faculties to recruit freshmen. He adds that he knows that Zhu Yi will definitely become everyone's target. The blue-eyed girl turns to the dark-skinned dean, and he replies that she need not worry, because he has prepared well and will definitely get Zhu Yi. The guy in the green jacket swings his leg. He throws a lot of kicks at Lin Fan. He grabs his hand. He knees him in the head. The red-haired guy falls to the ground. The judge announces that the winner is Wang Li, which results in his rank being upgraded to 10th, and Lin Feng's rank being demoted to 16th. The guy in the green sweater coughs and tells his opponent that it was a good battle. Lin Feng thought that everyone was challenging him when he was weak. He adds that they want to trample him, and then thinks that he will make all the offenders regret it when he recovers from his injuries. Half an hour later, holographic images of the finalists appear. The main character is in first place, Chu Zhan is in second place, and Zialan is in third place. Man shouts to many students that the free competition is over. The freshman competition has come to an end. He adds that since the students' ranks have been changed, their residence and scores will also be revised. Chief, Chu Zhan and Zialan look at the deans. The Black Dean reports that even if the student's rank has dropped and there are fewer points, then there is no need to worry, because there are still many ways to earn them as long as they work hard. The dark-skinned dean crossed his arms behind his back and said that now it's time to choose a faculty. He adds that first the deans will tell them about the philosophy of each of the 5 faculties. A green symbol with an eye, a pink symbol with a hammer and a pickaxe, a golden symbol with a sword and shields, an orange symbol with a potion, and a red symbol with a sword and 2 knives appear. Man bares his torso and concentrates the golden fire in his hand. He says that even though the dark era of invasion by otherworld races has ended, many classes are still dying on the battlefield. The mission of the military department is to develop stronger combat abilities in students and increase their survivability on the battlefield. He adds that the essence of the faculty is to fight to the limit and without mercy. Hua Yang, with his hood on, holds a staff in his hand and says that the Faculty of Elemental Magic is recruiting classes that mainly use the powers of the elements. He adds that he will help students learn the truths about the powers of the elements. Kai holds 2 swords in his hands and says that the weapons department strives to make better use of the weapons at hand, rather than relying solely on skill. He asks students to join the weapons department, and says that they will become strong with only their bodies and weapons. Lin's hand turned into a skeleton and green flames emanated from it. She says that the tactics department aims to teach students the tactics of commanding operations. Any class can choose their department. She adds that she is confident that all students understand that in war, only a first-class commander can reduce the chances of death of the entire legion. Ki Kin, with a monocle over his eye and a futuristic-looking weapon in his hands, says that a strong logistics system is the basis for the success of any operation, and they are happy to welcome representatives of all classes to their logistics department. He adds that although they do not focus on martial arts here, students will receive the most professional knowledge about life. The fat dean rubs his belly with a smile on his face and tells the students that once they grow up, even the fighting classes will need them. Man closes one eye and puts a fist to his face, and then tells the students that since all the faculties have been represented, they can now register in the system and choose the faculties they like. Chu Zhan, with a phone in his hand, looks at the protagonist and asks him which faculty he will choose. Man closes his eyes and tells the protagonist that if he joins the military department, he will become his personal mentor. The main character asks with surprise on his face. Huh. A personal mentor. The Black Dean shows the protagonist 2 fingers and tells him that the mentor can choose the best student as his student, and the resources he has will naturally be aimed at the development of this student. He adds that in addition, he has prepared several welcome gifts for him, including 3 skill books and a rank resources. Hua Young snaps his fingers and tells the protagonist that he should carefully consider his choice of mentor. He adds that he needs to come to them at the Faculty of Elemental Magic, and then he promises to prepare a set of legendary equipment for him. Kai instantly moves from the place where he was standing before. He appears near the protagonist, and then props his chin and tells him that once he enters the armory, he will be able to use anything that can increase his strength. Man shouts that he was the first to the red-haired dean. The red-haired dean closed his eyes and said that it's not about who came first, but about the sincerity of intentions. Drops of sweat flowed down the protagonist's cheek. He thought that it seemed like something like this had happened before. The girl standing on the bridge says that the 3 main faculties are fighting for Zhu Yi, and then says that she is jealous of such a special treatment for the top one. The guy in the gray shirt says that the status of a mentor's student is comparable to that of an heir in good families, and he has priority in using the mentor's resources. The guy with a bandage on his hand tells him that, nevertheless, the offers from the deans of the faculty are too generous. The guy in the gray shirt says that he could go to the weapons department, and then asks why the elemental department is trying to recruit a paladin. Man, with an angry expression on his face, thought that old Kai and Hua Yang were trying their best. He adds that okay, the Department of Weapons, but why does the Department of Elemental Magic want to take a paladin for themselves? The rector puts his hand forward and invites the protagonist to become his student. He comes closer to the protagonist. Man asks, "Rector?" The rector, with a serious expression on his face, tells the protagonist that he is using a pedigree creation technique on him. The main character asks him what the technique of creating a family tree is. In the middle of the red magic circle is the silhouette of the protagonist. The rector reveals that this is a forbidden spell, which, when used in combination with the blood of another race, allows him to obtain a special bloodline. He adds that this technique will greatly improve your physique, and you will receive more free points and skill points with each level up. One of the students notices that the protagonist is immediately asked to use a forbidden spell, and then says that this is incredible. A black-haired man with a thoughtful look says that the protagonist was also offered to become a student of the rector of the university, the president of the Tianyu Association, the leading association in China. He adds that if Zhu Yi becomes the rector's student, he will enlist the support of his extensive connections and rise to the very top. Lin Feng clenched his hand into a fist with an angry expression on his face and said that this guy was just lucky. He adds that if it weren't for Zhu Yi, he would have been in first place and would have had strong support from Rector Wang Hui. Beads of sweat run down Chu Zhan's cheek. She thought that after creating the bloodline, brother Zhu Yi would become even stronger. Hua Yang rubs his beard and laughs, and then says that he did not expect that the protagonist would be so charming that even the rector would want to take him on as a student. A magical golden ribbon appears around Hui's hands. He says that there are many surprises hidden in Zhu Yi. A ball appears above his hand with a sword attached to it. Hui says that this is a reward that the commander of the Snow Dragon Legion asked him to bring to the protagonist. Lin Feng notices that it is a gold medal and wonders how this is possible. He adds that even the Shen family, one of the 8 great families of Zhongning, does not have a gold medal. He wonders why the protagonist received it. Zia Lan, with a shocked expression on her face, asks if her eyes are deceiving her and isn't this a medal of honor. Chu Zhan holds the main character's hand and with a smile on her face says that her grandfather fought at the front for many years and only received a silver medal. The main character looks at his award and wonders when he made a huge contribution to the development of Chinese civilization. The rector, with a smile on his face, tells the main character that he knows about his actions in the Stormwind Mountains, and then adds that he deserved this gold medal for his outstanding achievements. The protagonist thought that it was impossible to get this medal just for killing a legion of demons, and then wonders if there is a hidden reason. The main character holds the medal in his hands and thanks the rector. Hua Yang tells the protagonist that he is so prissy for still calling him rector. The protagonist bows to Hui and calls him mentor, and then informs him of the honor of becoming his student. Golden streams of energy appear around the protagonist's mentor, and he tells the protagonist that they will not waste time. Man thought with concern on his face that the rector was really afraid that they would recruit Zhu Yi. Golden energy appears near Xialan, Chujan, and Kai. Man moved towards them, and with a smile on his face wants to address Chujan. But he is interrupted by the red-haired dean who addressed her earlier. The red-haired dean tells the girl that if she is ready to become his personal student, then everything that he promised you will be promised to her. The dark-skinned and red-haired deans look into each other's faces. Man asks his colleague if he does this on purpose. Kai replies that since Zhu Yi became the rector's disciple, he will definitely not give Chu Zhan to him. A golden magic circle appears around the protagonist and his partner, thanks to which they teleport to another space. The main character sees two cabinets filled with bottles. The protagonist has a surprised expression on his face. The mentor, with a smile on his face, tells the main character that this is his personal mansion, which is mainly used as a warehouse for valuable items. He adds that if the protagonist has business with him, he can always find him here. Huey goes deeper into the room and tells the protagonist that he brought him here to select items to create a family tree. The main character looks around and thought that this mansion is the rector's personal treasury, and when entering and exiting it, instant teleportation occurs. He adds that it could be located outside of Sukin County or even outside of China. The main character and his mentor stand in front of a magic circle on which there are fire, golden and ice balls. A fireball hovers over the rector's palm. Huey tells the protagonist that using the bloodline creation technique will allow his bloodline to undergo fundamental changes. But most people are attracted to the forbidden spell, and they ignore the essence of changing the bloodline, which is the source of the blood. He says that the potential of an ordinary person's bloodline is extremely limited, and as the level increases, the increase in characteristics with each level decreases. The image of a man meditates against the background of a golden circle. The rector reports that therefore, when most classes can no longer increase their level, they will decide to unite with representatives of other races to increase their strength. The protagonist, with surprise on his face, asks the mentor if he is still worried about this, given his level. The rector smiles and raises his index finger up, and then says that of course, once the classes enter the highest stage of awakening, each level requires a lot of experience. He adds that he is currently level 64, and usually otherworldly monsters at the same level are bosses that are not easy to defeat. He reports that he has prepared 3 sources of blood for the protagonist, the race of angels, titans, and dragons. He adds that they are all considered divine races. The golden ball is signed as the source of the blood of angels, the fireball is signed as the source of the blood of dragons, and the ice ball is signed as the source of the blood of titans. The mentor says that the bloodline creation technique can only provide the protagonist with one unique bloodline, so he can only choose one of the 3. He adds that the source of angel blood is extracted from the corpse of an angel. An image appears of a blonde girl with a blindfold and large angel wings behind her back. The mentor says that the angel race originated from the god of light, so merging with the angelic bloodline will give the protagonist an extremely high affinity with the element of light. He reports that the titans who prayed to the god of thunder were born with the ability to control lightning. An image of a stone man appears, from whose staff electricity emanates. The mentor informs the protagonist that he will greatly increase the power of any lightning-type ability if he unites with this bloodline. Huey says that the dragon race is the direct descendants of the dragon god and carries the purest dragon bloodline. A large red dragon appears, shrouded in a red aura. The mentor informs the protagonist that after merging with her, he will naturally suppress all other animal races. The main character, with a surprised expression on his face, thought that angels, titans, and dragons were races of at least level 60. The main character puts his hand to his chest and asks the mentor which pedigree he thinks suits him best. The main character thought that despite the fact that he has the help of the system, he still does not know enough about this world and cannot hastily make such decisions. The rector thought with a smile on his face that when faced with 3 extremely rare sources of blood, most young people would be so shocked that they would instinctively choose one of them. He adds that the protagonist has proven his maturity by maintaining rationality and clarity of thought during critical moments. The bloodline in his hands glows with a golden flame, and he tells the protagonist that the blood sources of titans and dragons are powerful, but mainly after merging they increase strength and mana. He adds that due to the protagonist's closeness with the god of light, the source of the angel's blood is undoubtedly the best choice, and as a result he will be able to receive enhancements beyond his imagination. The protagonist tells the mentor that he chooses the source of the blood of angels. He holds the pedigree in his hand and streams of golden energy emanate from it. The mentor puts his hand on the main character's shoulder and with a smile on his face tells him that she is perfect for him. He adds that the protagonist is his 5th student and he will introduce him to his other students when the opportunity arises. The main character shows his medal and says that he has a question, and then asks why this gold medal was awarded to him, because it cannot be obtained simply by destroying a legion of demons. The rector with a stern look says that this is not some kind of secret. He informs the protagonist that his actions in the Stormwind Mountains revealed their plan. He adds that the military has discovered that creatures from another world can enter through medium-sized cracks. Many demons are moving somewhere against the background of a pink glow. The main character, with a surprised expression on his face, asks if this means that many creatures from another world are already hiding throughout China. The mentor says that everything is correct. Initial investigations have revealed signs of their entry through hundreds of medium-sized cracks within the country's borders. A man in shoulder pads and a cloak walks between many armored warriors. The mentor stands with his hands behind his back and says that fortunately their level is low, so the legion can cope with them. He adds that there are many legions throughout the country that have received orders to destroy beings from another world, and the university mission system will provide corresponding tasks in the future. He hopes that the protagonist, like his student, can become as strong as his older comrades and contribute to the development of the nation. The main character with a confident look agrees with the mentor. The mentor says that the bloodline creation technique still requires some preparations and the protagonist should rest first. Huey puts forward his hand with a pink cube containing another cube. He asks the protagonist to take this teleportation device and tells him that he must use it tomorrow at 9 o'clock. The main character sits on the sofa with the system window open in front of him and thinks about what to choose. He materializes a vial in his hand and thought that the teacher said that the final result of creating a bloodline depends on physique, as well as luck. He adds that he hopes that the S-rank potion he received after killing the demon spawn will come in handy. In the system window, it is written that the protagonist has an elixir of luck of S+ rank in his hand. Effect: luck increases significantly for 12 hours after use. Having opened the bottle, the protagonist drinks the potion. He opens his reward in the form of a random chest. A system window appears congratulating the protagonist on receiving the S-rank treasure dragon fruit. Dragon fruit. Fruit grown on a dragon's corpse greatly improves physique and damage output once consumed. The main character clenches his hands into fists and exclaims with a smile on his face that this is an S-rank treasure. He adds that he used to only get terrible items from chests, but the elixir of luck allowed him to instantly hit the jackpot. The main character puts his hand in front of him and materializes a cube. He thought that now it was time to go to the mentor. Magical energy appears around the protagonist. Energy swirls around the main character. Hua Young tells the rector that he is so generous. He tells him that the corpse of an angel is extremely rare, and getting the source of angel blood is not an easy task. He adds that one such source can cause several legions to fight each other. The rector, with his hands behind his back, replies that he was waiting for someone to whom he was ready to give this blood and chose Zhu Yi. He adds that he is very pleased with him and naturally, there is nothing to doubt. The main character teleported to them and turns to his mentor. The rector tells the protagonist that it looks like he has gotten his body into perfect shape. He asks the protagonist to go forward, and then reveals that this is a bloodline creation technique that he has prepared for him. They stand on a huge golden magic circle. The mentor asks the protagonist to take off his clothes and sit in the center of the circle. The protagonist sits in the middle of the magic circle. A golden flame emanates from the protagonist's chest, where the bloodline is located. Huey asks Hua Young to activate the circle and says that he himself will protect it. The old man agrees with the rector. The old man puts his hand with the staff forward and uses the technique of creating a bloodline. Golden streams of energy emanate from his staff. Streams of energy fall to the ground around the protagonist. Golden energy rushes to the protagonist's chest. A huge amount of energy is around the protagonist. He is enveloped in blue energy. The protagonist is in the middle of a huge column of blue energy. The rector puts his hand forward. Hua Young shouts that this ice power is terrifying, and it seems that he had a special bloodline from the very beginning. The shelves of books froze. Hua Young's hand is frostbitten. He thought with a surprised expression that if Zhu Yi decided to change his class to a mage, then he could become one of the best ice mages just because of this terrifying ice power. The old man creates magical fire around his hand and removes the ice. The rector, with a serious expression on his face, says that he knows that Sister Zhuji has awakened the ice bloodline, so he assumed that the main character might have it too. He adds that as one of the best bloodlines, the angelic one should be able to suppress other lower rank bloodlines during the creation process. The protagonist is enveloped in golden energy. Streams of golden and blue energy circulate around him. The rector says that he did not attach much importance to this, but the bloodline of angels and ice is right now opposing each other and balancing each other. He carefully observes what is happening and says that such a high-level ice bloodline suggests that the origin of the protagonist may not be entirely ordinary. A lot of smoke appears. The rector thought with a stern look that almost all other human bloodlines descended from the very first players of eternity. He adds that after merging reality with the game, the higher your level, the more complete your bloodline inheritance will be. He says that the power of ice within Zhu, you can rival that of an angelic bloodline. He imagines the image of a warrior with blue eyes and armor, who is armed with a two-handed sword. Rector says this means his ancestors may have been among the first high-level players to take part in the game. The mentor imagines the image of an ice dragon and says that otherwise Zhu, he would not be able to master such a powerful bloodline. He adds that if the protagonist did not have an ice bloodline, the blood from the angelic source would completely fill his body. The main character is enveloped in a golden aura. The mentor says that currently the source of angel blood is opposed to the ice bloodline, and even if it were completely destroyed, the source would probably also be devastated. The old man says that since a huge amount of angel blood has been lost, the final effect may not be as good as taking in a rank medicine. He adds that now they can only trust fate, because any attempt to forcefully stop the ritual could lead to his death. The protagonist's face tenses. Golden energy emanates from one of his eyes, and blue energy from the other. The old man says that he hopes that luck will smile on Zhu Yi. The main character with a tense face clenched his teeth as red and black energy was directed into his ears. Ice appears around him. The protagonist opens his eyes. A notification appears indicating that the creation gate has been opened and the protagonist has entered the mental space. The main character is standing in a spacious hall. In front of him is the silhouette of a woman in white clothes. The main character, with a wary expression on his face, thought that this was really his mental space. A girl in a white hooded robe congratulates the protagonist on receiving God's blessing, and then reveals that God sent her here to grant him true power. She adds that the main character will not be constrained by rules and will follow only his own will and desires. The girl with golden eyes glowing made a gloomy expression on her face, and then asked the protagonist if he would accept this power. The main character, whose eyes glow blue, thought it was disgusting, and then wondered why the first thing he wanted to do when he saw her was to summon his hammer and kill her. The girl with a malicious smile puts her hand forward and tells the protagonist that he does not need to be afraid and should accept this blessing, thanks to which he will gain strength beyond all imaginable limits. The protagonist's hammer, shrouded in golden energy, rushes towards the girl's head. The protagonist hit the girl on the head. Looking at the girl, the main character thought that now he feels much better, because in the end, he must follow the call of his heart. The girl holds her face with her hand and asks the main character what he is doing. The girl, whose eyes were covered with a golden mask without holes for the eyes, smiled. She sits on a throne, and an angel girl stands next to her. A girl with brown hair and green eyes looks at the masked girl with confusion on her face. The red-haired girl in the mask puts her hand on the green-eyed girl's head and tells her not to pay attention, because she just saw something interesting. She raises her hand up and golden particles fly near her. She says, "Don't disappoint me, baby." A girl in a robe with a hood screams and asks the protagonist how he dares to insult the gods, because God will bring down divine punishment on him, leaving no trace of it. She tells the protagonist that he must fall to his knees and beg for forgiveness for his sins, and only then will she think about forgiving him in the name of God. The main character points the hammer at the girl and tells her that this is not necessary. The girl smiles maliciously, and after calling the protagonist an arrogant brat, she puts her hand forward, after which a red glow emanates from her hand. Chains are stuck into the protagonist, after which he opens his mouth in pain and screams. Many pink eyes appear around, looking at the shackled protagonist. The girl laughs and calls the protagonist's voice delightful, and then adds that this is a consequence of disrespect for Lord Exeus. Drops of sweat run down the protagonist's face. He tells the girl that she is just a subordinate of an evil god. The girl hits the protagonist in the face and shouts at him that he showed unheard of impudence. The girl puts her hands together and, calling the protagonist a brat, tells him that he attracted the attention of the master, and he sent her to initiate the protagonist. She tells the main character that he should rejoice, because Lord Xia will return him to the righteous path. Many streams of energy are directed at the main character, after which he screams loudly. Half of the protagonist's face is covered with pink and purple energy. The main character says that this evil force is corroding his consciousness. A dark image of a monster with horns and many eyes looks at the protagonist. In the real world, a lot of energy appears near the protagonist. The rector shouts and asks what is happening. He puts his hand forward with golden energy and asks why the power of the evil god is inside the source of the blood of angels and whether the angel was killed by the evil god. The golden energy bounces off the dark energy that circulates around the protagonist. Hua Yang with a shocked expression shouts that Juyi is in danger, because the evil god will stop at nothing to destroy the power of the angels. The rector with a smile on his face tells the dean that he needs to stop, because the power of the angels inside the main character does not decrease and only becomes more powerful. More blue and golden energy circulates around the protagonist. Half of the protagonist's face turned golden. He breaks the chains around him using golden blue energy. In the middle of the golden and blue energy, ice appears, next to which there is an ice symbol in the form of a circle, in the middle of which there is an ice snowflake. The follower of the evil god closes his hand. Blue energy rushes towards it. She thought that this guy's soul was almost consumed, and then wondered why such a powerful divine force suddenly burst out. The girl was covered by ice, which is formed using blue energy. A dark golden silhouette appears. The protagonist's skin darkened and his hair became long and golden. He takes out his hammer from behind his back. The protagonist's hammer becomes covered in ice. He makes a hammer blow and tells the evil god's subordinate to die. Golden energy emanates from the protagonist's blow. Dark energy is directed towards the hammer. A huge amount of dark energy appeared in front of the protagonist. The many-eyed creature is chained and laughing. It asks the protagonist if he really decided to tickle him. The monster smiles smugly and tells the protagonist that his resistance is just a minor obstacle to his grand plan. He sent chains shrouded in crackling energy at the protagonist. The chains are directed at the main character. The chains break through the ice. The monster smiles as he watches what is happening. He opened his eyes wide in surprise. He notices that the protagonist is behind him. The main character activates the magic circle. A large blue magic circle appears under the monster. Ice spikes come from the magic circle. One of the ice spikes pierced the monster's hand. Many ice spikes pierce the monster, after which it screams in pain. The monster concentrates dark energy and laughs, and then tells the main character that it will accept his gift. Dark energy envelops the spikes. The monster tells the protagonist that what people call power is just a remnant of the light given by God. The monster's hand changes. The monster appears with a huge eye, after which he announces that he is Xia's most devoted supporter. He opens his huge mouth and says that the power he possesses is beyond the understanding of the main character. The main character floats opposite the monster. Rays emanate from the monster's many eyes. The main character dodges several rays. The rays turn into chains. The protagonist is among many chains. The monster tells the main character that in the end, insects only know how to escape. A huge amount of energy is concentrated in the monster's eye. Powerful magical energy is directed at the main character. The enemy's attack almost reached the protagonist. Streams of wind emanate from powerful energy. The main character put up a barrier with a golden symbol in front of him. The protagonist's icy wings turn golden. The protagonist's wings turn completely golden, after which he quickly changes location. The monster screams, "What?" Many rays rush towards the main character. The main character breaks one of the beams with a hammer. He breaks one beam after another. He moves to another group of rays and breaks them up. He moved closer to the monster. The red-haired girl in the mask smiles and says that it's all over. The main character concentrates golden energy in his index finger. The monster's eyes turn golden. A bright golden glow appears at the top. Light falls on the monster's body. The monster exclaims that this is impossible, and then asks the protagonist where he got such strength. The glow becomes even brighter, and the monster holds its head in pain, and then shouts the word no several times. The monster closes its eyes. A destructive golden energy appears and breaks the floor. The main character lands on the ground. He looks up. He sees an orb with the angel's pedigree above him. The angel's pedigree hovers above the protagonist's hand. The protagonist's skin and hair become normal again. The main character brings his second hand to the family tree. A huge amount of golden energy appears around the protagonist in the real world, which rushes upward. A bead of sweat runs down Hua Yang's cheek. He asks with a cry whether the power of the angel has completely destroyed the power of the evil god. The rector, with a smile on his face, shouts that it looks like the blood of angels and the icy bloodline have merged together in the most bizarre way. An image of a girl angel with a mask on her face appears above the protagonist. A symbol appears on the protagonist's chest and glows brightly. The angel girl puts her hands on the protagonist's shoulders and gradually disappears. The main character opens his eyes, and they glow with a bright golden light. Smoke comes from the protagonist. The old man smiles and closes his eyes, and then shouts that the protagonist was really born under a lucky star. He adds that the protagonist received the blessing of the god of light at a critical moment and prevented the threat. Zhuyi gets to his feet. The rector asks the main character how he feels. System windows appear in front of the protagonist, and he says that it seems that his strength has changed dramatically. He opens his eyes wide. The first golden window of the system shows an icon with a symbol next to which there are wings. It says that now the protagonist has a special pedigree, Seraphim. In the next system window, the icon shows a cross. Bloodline talent, Divine Mark of Light rank A. With the Divine Mark of Light, the protagonist will have a special connection with the elements of light and ice, and as the bloodline progresses, their compatibility with other elements will improve. The last window of the system depicts a golden star with energy flows circulating around it. Bloodline talent, B+ rank magic immunity. Gives a chance to become immune to magic used by opponents, including non-damaging skills such as cleanse, dispel, and so on. The main character with a smile on his face shouts that this is the bloodline of a 6-winged angel, and he also inherited 2 talents. Hua Yang shouts with a shocked expression that this is the Seraph bloodline. The rector, with a smile on his face, puts his hand forward and says that it seems that the merger of the bloodlines was successful, and the main character received the Seraph bloodline, the highest rank. He adds that the talents that the main character inherited will continue to develop to S+ rank as they level up. The main character has a surprised expression on his face. A bead of sweat runs down his cheek. He tells the mentor that there is also a rank S+ bloodline technique called Divine Angel Body. Another system window appears, showing a symbol with a halo above it. Bloodline Techniques plus rank Angel Divine Body. Release the power of the bloodline to inform the 6-winged angel. The higher your level, the more power you can release. Note, the power of angel blood has not been completely absorbed because the protagonist has not reached level 50. Each time after using this technique, a period of weakness will occur.